Chapter 293, Balrog Serpent. Inside the Eternal Throne, the apex powerhouses of the War God's Temple were currently observing the situation inside the 12 trials, and they were all very shocked to discover that Feng actually wielded a magic weapon. What an amazing little guy. He isn't even a Tier 1 swordsman, yet he is actually able to master a magic weapon. Moreover, he has even released its power to such a degree. Controller of a magic weapon. Dominator of a mysterious flame. Moreover, his control over his own power has obviously crossed that threshold. He sure knows how to surprise us time after time. Yes. It would have been fine if it were just the magic weapon and mysterious flame, but he has even reached such a level of control over his own power already. Many of those who have attained a Tier 3 class can't even achieve such a degree of control. It seems he won't have any problems clearing the 6th trial. With such great potential hidden in him, if he had come to us a little later, he might have been able to clear even the 7th trial. Such a pity. The threshold these NPC big shots were referring to was simply one's ability to display 50% of one's own combat power. However, none of these NPCs knew that, in the past, Feng had once been a Tier 3 Sword King. Back then, Feng was capable of displaying up to 80% of his personal combat power. If not for his weak physique limiting his brain's development potential and also the quality of his own equipment being a problem, Feng would have long since been promoted to a Tier 4 Sword Emperor. This can't be helped. Who would have known the endless abyss would break the seal so quickly? There is no point feeling pity over the matter. We old folks should make some preparations for when the trial ends as well. Otherwise, we'll break our backs from overwork later. The Lords of the Silver Thrones unanimously acknowledged Feng's potential. However, in regard to Feng's managing to clear the 7th trial, they held no hope towards it at all. The reason being, it had been over a millennium since the 7th trial had been cleared. Inside the 12 trials, the stage for the 6th trial was a cave of lava similar to the Flame God's cave. However, the fire-type mana here was far purer than in the Flame God's cave. Feng currently stood inside this cave, and the molten hot lava around him was making bubbling sounds as it flowed through the cave. If Feng did not possess 20 points in fire resistance, allowing him a certain degree of immunity to heat, he would have long since been cooked by the scalding hot temperatures. Any average player that came here might already be half dead before they even started battling. Before Feng could fully observe the terrain inside the cave, a gigantic flame-covered snake over 20 meters long emerged from the molten lava. Balrog Serpent, Special Elite. Level 20. HP 150,000/150,000. Even if Feng did not know exactly how powerful this Balrog Serpent was, he had no doubt whatsoever that this serpent had a very high resistance towards fire-type attacks. Let's use you as a test for my new weapons. Feng revealed a faint smile as he unsheathed the Abyssal Blade and the Purgatory's Shadow. However, he did not directly charge at the Balrog Serpent, as that was something only an idiot would do. Before charging into battle, experts would first try to understand as much as they could about their opponent. Hence, Feng simply stood still and calmly observed the Balrog Serpent's every action, familiarizing himself with the giant serpent's movement patterns. The Balrog Serpent was also no idiot itself. It obviously knew that it was much stronger than Feng and that its HP was tens of times higher than Feng's as well. So, instead of giving Feng time to study it, the Balrog Serpent immediately widened its mouth and sent fireballs flying one after another at Feng. Feng's feet moved, his body instantly reacting, leaving behind an afterimage as he effortlessly dodged these incoming fireballs. Not giving up, the Balrog Serpent continued bombarding Feng with a stream of fireballs. If 3 were not enough, then 5. If 5 were not enough, then 10. Soon, the space within the cave was packed with fireballs. By attacking in such a way, not only could the Balrog Serpent damage its enemies, it could also prevent them from closing in on it. Faced with such a method of attack that combined both offense and defense, average players would definitely grow helpless and suffer the bombardment of these dozens of fireballs. Feng, however, was no average player. In the face of all these fireballs, instead of retreating, he chose to advance without the slightest shred of hesitation. Yet, contrary to expectations, Feng did not end up suffering a tragic end at the hands of the fireballs. Instead, he looked as if he was dancing as he weaved through the rain of fire, his actions seemingly easy and enjoyable. However, when the distance between him and the Balrog serpent shortened to 20 yards, he could no longer rely solely on evading the fireballs to move forward. I've mostly grasped its attack timing. Now, it's time to have a look at how amazing my new weapons are. Feng inwardly smiled as he looked at the Balrog serpent that was constantly spitting out fireballs. Feng activated the ice blue devil flame, and deep blue flames immediately wrapped around his body. He then used silent steps to appear right behind the Balrog serpent's head. The first thing he did when he arrived was to send a vertical slash down on the Balrog serpent's head, causing -372 damage to the monster. Such strong defense. Feng looked at the resulting damage, disbelief filling his eyes. The abyssal blade itself already possessed 302 attack power. If Feng's strength were taken into account, his total attack power should be well over 700 points. Moreover, the ice blue devil flame had also increased the damage he dealt by 20%. Yet, he had managed to cause only -372 damage to the monster. The Balrog serpent's defense could already rival a lord-ranked monster of the same level. If Feng had not upgraded the abyssal blade to level 20 nor equipped the dark gold-ranked Purgatory's shadow, Feng might not even be able to deal -150 damage to the Balrog serpent right now. At this moment, Feng felt fortunate that he had not rushed before to start the 6th trial. Otherwise, his chances of victory would have been lower than 20%. However, although Feng had allowed this thought to linger in his mind for a moment, his attacks on the Balrog serpent never stopped. Immediately after his first sword strike, Feng followed up by using Thundering Flash. 3 electric arcs dove into the flaming Balrog serpent, piercing its gigantic body and causing damages of -554, -1,528, and -1,125. The damage he dealt was much higher than before. Simultaneously, he had also inflicted a damage amplification debuff that lasted 20 seconds on the Balrog serpent. Following which, Feng continued with a chop, the attack achieving a critical hit and dealing close to -2,000 damage. When Feng landed on the ground, he immediately followed up with a flurry of sword slashes. The abyssal blade now had a 40% chance to deal a critical hit, so Feng could deal a critical hit with almost every other attack. From this series of attacks, the Balrog serpent had lost over 7,000 HP. However, the giant serpent had 150,000 HP. Feng would need to repeat such a burst of attacks at least 20 more times in order to completely kill it. Originally, Feng felt quite happy with the damage he was dealing. At this rate, even if he did not activate Black Emperor, he still possessed a very high chance of killing the Balrog serpent. Unfortunately, that happiness was short-lived. The reason being, Feng soon discovered that the Balrog serpent's HP was rapidly returning to full. It was actually recovering 500 HP every second. That amount was even higher than a single one of Feng's normal attacks. If Feng remained idle, the Balrog serpent would fully recover in less than 20 seconds. Meanwhile, the Balrog serpent immediately sent its tail swiping at Feng, finally reacting to Feng's attacks. Feng hurriedly used parry to block the attack. Although he suffered no damage from the Balrog serpent's tail strike, he was forced to retreat 3 steps, with his hands growing numb from the force of the impact as well. In terms of destructive power, the Balrog serpent was definitely superior to the Chimera. The Balrog serpent was also much faster. Feng had actually been forced to use parry because he could not dodge in time. Currently, Feng's parry was at level 7, so it had a cooldown of 21 seconds. Aside from parry, Feng also had defensive blade, a skill that had both offensive and defensive capabilities. Currently, defensive blade was at level 6, and it had a cooldown of 2 minutes. Although its cooldown was much longer than parry, it allowed Feng to completely block for melee attacks and 8 ranged attacks. He would also be immune to charge attacks. Just as the dozens of fireballs were about to hit him, Feng jumped into the air, dodging them completely. Right after that, the Balrog serpent swiped its tail at Feng again. The sound of wind whistling could be heard as its tail streaked through the air. In the face of this powerful attack, Feng showed no signs of weaknesses. Immediately, he countered the attack with the level 7 Thunder Flame explosion. When sword and tail collided, sparks of flame scattered in all directions. The Balrog serpent's tail was knocked back, the monster itself receiving over -400 damage from the brief clash. On the other hand, Feng landed heavily onto the ground, his feet sinking partly into the molten lava. A damage of over -700 points also appeared above his head. As expected, in a direct confrontation, Feng was definitely a lot weaker than the Balrog serpent. However, Feng was probably the only player in God's domain right now who dared to actually fight a special elite monster in such a way. Chapter 294, Storm of Swords. Although Feng lost against the Balrog serpent in a direct confrontation, Thunder Flame Explosion, the skill he used, wasn't just a powerful destructive skill. It was also a control skill. However, the Balrog serpent was a special elite monster. It possessed a degree of resistance towards control skills. Hence, the level 7 Thunder Flame Explosion, which would originally place enemies hit by it in a fainted state for 5 seconds, only managed to incapacitate the Balrog serpent for 3.5 seconds. For average players, 3.5 seconds might not seem like a long time. For Feng, however, it was plenty of time. Wind Blade. Feng instantly arrived before the Balrog serpent. Simultaneously, his attack speed received a 30% increase. However, Feng was still not satisfied with this. He then proceeded to activate the additional skill of the Purgatory's Shadow, Purgatory Power. Purgatory Power, when activated, increases attack speed by 100% and damage dealt by 30% for 15 seconds. Cooldown, 2 minutes. Feng then activated 9 Dragon's Slash. 12 phantoms of the Abyssal Blade suddenly appeared, floating around Feng. Each phantom was capable of dealing 40% damage for 30 seconds. However, it had a long cooldown of 5 minutes. Feng brandished his 2 swords using his full strength. In addition to the 12 Abyssal Blade phantoms he was controlling, a total of 14 swords surrounded and madly attacked the Balrog serpent. Within moments, the cave was filled with sword images dancing around. 14. 28. 56. 112. Countless sword images flashed in the air, forming a storm of swords that devoured the Balrog serpent whole. Feng's swords slashed at the Balrog serpent's body one after another, each strike causing close to -500 damage. Moreover, close to half of this barrage of attacks achieved a critical hit, each dealing close to -1000 damage to the monster. Meanwhile, each of the phantoms of the Abyssal Blade had also managed to deal over -200 damage to the Balrog serpent. The total damage of the 12 phantoms was even more frightening than that of Feng himself. As if the floodgates to the Balrog serpent's 150,000 HP had been opened, the Balrog serpent lost HP incessantly. Within a short 3.5 seconds, the Balrog serpent's HP had already fallen to 61%. When the Balrog serpent regained consciousness, it immediately released an enraged roar. At this moment, however, Feng pointed the Abyssal Blade at the Balrog serpent. "Now is still not the time for you to wake up." Feng cast Abyssal Bind on the Balrog serpent right away. If he were to allow the Balrog serpent to start retaliating, his previous efforts would all go to waste. In the blink of an eye, 9 pitch-black chains emerged from the ground, quickly wrapping around and binding the Balrog serpent. Meanwhile, the Balrog serpent could do nothing but roar in anger as it helplessly watched sword after sword piercing its own body, continuously reaping its HP. The Abyssal Bind had a duration of 4 seconds. Moreover, the Balrog Serpent's resistance towards control skills was completely ineffective against it. The Abyssal Bind's effective duration was not reduced in the slightest. In addition, the Abyssal Bind reduced the Balrog Serpent's defense by 100%, rendering the Balrog Serpent's innately powerful defense utterly useless. Now, each of Feng's sword strikes dealt over -800 damage, with the occasional triple critical hit dealing over -2500 damage. A series of splendid numbers appeared above the Balrog Serpent's head. Before the eye-catching number of -2500 disappeared, a damage of over -1700 points appeared on top of it. Practically 1 out of every 2 strikes would achieve a critical hit. Meanwhile, each of the 12 Abyssal Blade Phantoms were now dealing over -350 damage to the Balrog Serpent. For the Balrog Serpent, these 4 seconds were a complete hell. By the time the Balrog Serpent escaped from the chains binding it, it had only 19% HP remaining. However, Feng had long since been prepared for this moment. Disappear. Feng raised the silvery-gray Abyssal Blade. The dense fire-type mana in the surroundings started gathering around the Abyssal Blade, causing the sword to release a blinding glow. This was indeed Feng's ultimate skill, Flame Burst. Flame Burst. Level 5, requires 4 million EXP to upgrade to level 6. Channeling time, 2 seconds. Gathers the power of flames to a single point and causes 420% damage to the target. Attack count, 6 times. Cooldown, 3 minutes 30 seconds. Before the Balrog Serpent could even start attacking, Feng had already brandished the scorching hot Abyssal Blade 6 times. All 6 sword slashes immediately sank into the Balrog Serpent's body. -3310, -3347, -6784, -6706, -3371, -6754. 6 frightening damages appeared consecutively above the Balrog Serpent's head, instantly taking away the monster's remaining 28,000 HP. Soon after, the Balrog Serpent's body started fading away, and only after it disappeared completely, did Feng release a sigh of relief. System, Balrog Serpent defeated. 6th trial completed. Rewarding 9 million EXP, 20 free mastery points, and 10 gold coins. Proficiency of all skills increased by 500 points. System, 6th trial cleared. Do you wish to start the next trial? Feng's experience bar immediately rose to 41% of level 21. If put on the ranking list on White River City, Feng would only be beneath Violet Cloud and the others. However, he was still 2 levels behind Blackie, the current top-ranking player of White River City. Finally, I've passed the requirement. Should I try to take on the 7th trial, though? Feng looked at the system interface showing the trial's prompt. Privately, Feng had the notion to take the challenge. Now that he had cleared the 6th trial, it signified that his task was already over. He had no need to brave the dangers and accept the next trial at all. Moreover, if he happened to lose his life in the next trial, he would definitely suffer a heavy penalty. It absolutely wouldn't be limited to just losing a single level. Truth be told, however, Feng felt confident about his chances at clearing the 7th trial. After all, he had not even unveiled the Black Emperor inheritance when he fought the Balrog Serpent. He definitely had the necessary strength to challenge the 7th trial. After clearing the 6th trial, Feng obtained an additional 1,600 merit points. If he were to clear the 7th trial, he could obtain another 3,200 merit points, bringing his total to 4,800 merit points. It would be enough points for him to exchange for an epic ranked item. Just the prospect of obtaining an epic ranked item made Feng feel that he should give it a try. Besides, Feng no longer had any burdens to carry, so why not give it a try? However, Feng was unsure of what kind of price he would have to pay if he were to suffer death. If it was only losing a single level, then Feng would gladly proceed to the 7th trial. However, Feng knew such an outcome was not likely. Just the penalty for not completing the Trial of Gods was already considered unbearable for players. Some players might even have to delete and restart their accounts due to the harsh penalties imposed. Meanwhile, the 12 Trials was the most challenging trial of the War God's Temple. It would be an insult to the War God's Temple if the punishment for dying was only the loss of a single level. Just as Feng was hesitating, his system communicator rang. Meanwhile, the person calling him was Aqua Rose. Did something happen? Feng asked. Previously, Feng had already told Aqua Rose that he did not wish to be disturbed as he was about to do a quest, and that, unless there was something big happening, she shouldn't try to contact him. Based on Aqua Rose's serious personality, if it wasn't an extremely important matter, then she definitely wouldn't try to contact him, hence Feng's question. Dark Star has suddenly declared an all-out war against us, and several hundreds of our guild members have already been killed by members of Dark Star while they were out grinding. Moreover, the core team, led by Fire Dance, has also been trapped by Dark Star inside the Silverleaf Forest. Although we've already sent reinforcements, they were blocked by members of Dark Star outside the forest. What I'm trying to say is that, guild leader, you need to immediately contact Gentle Snow and have her send some people to help contain Dark Star so that our members can take the opportunity to save Fire Dance and the others. Aqua Rose was extremely anxious at this moment. They had already failed to break through the encirclement of Dark Star around the Silverleaf Forest multiple times now. If this situation continued, Fire Dance and the others would truly be finished. Feng Xianyang. You did good. Feng's expression immediately sank, a cold killing intent gleaming in his eyes. If Fire Dance and the others belonging to the main force of the guild were to die a few times, it would be a tremendous loss to Zero Wing. Leaving aside the fame that Fire Dance and the others had accumulated for themselves, just losing a part of the equipment they possessed would be a serious blow to the guild. Just how long would it take for them to recover such precious equipment? Meanwhile, when Feng tried to figure out who was responsible for such a situation, Feng Xianyang came up as his strongest suspect. Feng Xianyang was the true wielder of authority in Dark Star. After Feng's previous forthright rejection, it would not be strange if Feng Xianyang retaliated. Hence, who else could be responsible for Dark Star's declaration of war? Chapter 295, Mirage Beast. Although Feng was incensed by this news, Fire Dance and the others would have long since lost their lives by the time he arrived at the Silverleaf Forest. Alright, I'll contact Gentle Snow immediately. Feng disconnected his call with Aqua Rose after saying so. He then called out his friends list, selected Gentle Snow's name, and chose to contact her. It was a fact that Ouroboros and Zero Wing were allies. Since an ally was under attack, Gentle Snow naturally did not refuse to send reinforcements when Feng asked. Moreover, Gentle Snow had found out about this entire matter a step ahead of Feng. Hence, she had already organized her subordinates even before Feng contacted her, and they were just about to hurry over to the Silverleaf Forest right at that moment. Gentle Snow had gathered 2,000 members from Ouroboros to aid Zero Wing. Of them, 500 were elite members of the guild. Such a powerful force would pose a huge threat to the 6,000 members of Dark Star blocking the way into the Silverleaf Forest. Many thanks for your help, Miss Snow. In the future, members of Ouroboros that shop at the Starstreak trading firm can enjoy a 10% discount on all products, Feng said in thanks. You said this yourself. I'll gladly accept your offer, then. Gentle Snow revealed a faint smile. Currently, over half of the player population in White River City was patronizing the Starstreak trading firm. After all, not only were the items sold there of good quality, there was also a large selection available. Moreover, the product supply was plentiful. Normally, the various guilds in White River City would always make a trip to the Starstreak trading firm before they went dungeon diving. If Ouroboros could receive a 10% discount when purchasing items there, it would save the guild a lot of money. Really, though, just what is going through the minds of those people in Dark Star? It would be fine if it were just the usual minor skirmish. However, they have actually declared an all-out war on Zero Wing. Isn't Lone Tyrant afraid that his guild might suffer heavy losses and lose the ability to compete for the first clear of the 3 great dungeons? Gentle Snow commented curiously. The competition over the first clear of the 3 great dungeons had already reached its most crucial moment right now. Moreover, Dark Star only had the final boss left to defeat in order to snag the first clear of the Land of Death, and gain an absolute advantage over the other guilds. However, Dark Star had instead chosen to take action against Zero Wing at this critical junction. God's Domain had been launched just recently. At this early stage of the game, everyone was busy leveling up and raiding dungeons to strengthen themselves. Guilds, in particular, were deeply afraid of falling behind others. Even if conflict arose between guilds, both sides would usually choose to show restraint. After all, an all-out war between guilds would profit nobody. Worse, they might even get taken advantage of by a third party. If such a situation were to truly occur, then the damage to both guilds would grow even more massive. Hence, unless there was a huge disparity in strength between both sides, nobody would casually choose to start a war. Dark Star and Zero Wing were both among the top 6 guilds in White River City, so the difference in strength between the 2 guilds was not particularly wide. No matter how Gentle Snow looked at the situation, she could not figure out why Dark Star would choose to suddenly declare war. I am afraid that the one starting the war this time around isn't Lone Tyrant, but the organization that's backing him, Underworld, Feng said, laughing bitterly. Underworld. Gentle Snow couldn't help but wrinkle her eyebrows at this revelation. So that's how it is. I've been wondering how Dark Star had managed to suddenly obtain so many experts. It turns out the mysterious power supporting Dark Star is Underworld. However, how did you manage to find out about this? Even though I've planted many spies inside Dark Star, I never managed to uncover the forces hidden behind Dark Star. Feng Xianyang from Underworld came looking for me to buy some of Zero Wing's shares. However, the price he offered was simply too low. I rejected his offer, so now he is trying to get back at me by destroying Zero Wing. Feng revealed the truth. Gentle Snow immediately understood the situation after listening to Feng's words. It was no wonder Dark Star was completely unafraid of commencing an all-out war. With Underworld's background, it only needed to field a part of its forces located in the eastern region of Star Moon Kingdom to completely destroy Zero Wing. With such a large disparity in strength, it was natural for Dark Star not to fear a war. So it is Feng Xianyang. He is indeed a person who would take revenge for the slightest of offenses. However, with Underworld's financial power, his offer to buy Zero Wing, which possesses a guild residence, should not have been low. At the very least, he should have offered 500 to 600 million, right? Gentle Snow came to an abrupt realization. However, she also felt curious about this matter, as the Feng Xianyang she knew was not a tight-fisted person. 1 billion credits and several hundred experts. In addition, they would also provide 100 gold coins as support every week, Feng said. 1 billion credits and also 100 gold coins per week. Feng Xianyang sure is generous. Even I might feel tempted if given such an offer. Yet, you actually complained that it's too little. No wonder he's angry. Gentle Snow chuckled softly. Feng simply replied with a faint smile, not bothering to give an explanation on the matter. Aside from a few core guild members knowing about the Purple Sun Mansion being their new guild residence, nobody else knew anything about it. The others only knew that Zero Wing possessed a guild residence. They were not clear where exactly it was located. After all, there were simply too many plots of land available in White River City. Moreover, the Purple Sun Mansion was currently under reconstruction. It would take 2 more days before it can be used and also unveiled to the public. Following which, Feng made some small talk with Gentle Snow before ending the call. He then proceeded to start the 7th trial. If nothing unexpected happened, the 2,000 players led by Gentle Snow could definitely break apart Dark Star's encirclement around the Silverleaf Forest. Hence, what Feng needed to do now was to increase his own strength by obtaining even better tools and equipment, slowly and gradually enhancing their guild's foundation. In regard to the battle at the Silverleaf Forest, Feng could only play the role of an observer. Even if he were to rush over there right this instant, everything would have long since been over by the time he arrived. However, Feng would definitely remember this debt of hatred. Sooner or later, he would repay this debt to Dark Star and Underworld 10 times over. The stage for the 7th trial was an ancient Colosseum. The moment Feng laid eyes on his opponent, he was immediately shocked by what he saw. Why is it myself? Feng looked at the familiar figure gradually appearing at a corner of the Colosseum, feeling very surprised. However, when he used observing eyes on this twin of his, he immediately came to an understanding. Mirage Beast, Rare Special Elite. Level 20. HP 200,000/200,000. This Mirage Beast was capable of replicating the appearance and skills of an enemy. However, unlike players, it had a frightening amount of HP. In a one-on-one situation, players would find it extremely difficult to kill the Mirage Beast. In God's domain, the only advantage players had over monsters was the diversity of skills they possessed. Meanwhile, players could use these skills in various combinations to exert even stronger power. Yet, if the Mirage Beast possessed the same skills that players did, then players would lose even that little advantage they had. When comparing the power of skills, the Mirage Beast's skills might even be more powerful than the players'. Good timing. I was just thinking of trying out a few things. Feng advanced, immediately directing a chop at the Mirage Beast. Meanwhile, the Mirage Beast had similarly charged at Feng, and it, too, had sent a chop at Feng. The moment the two swords clashed, sparks flew all around. However, when all was said and done, Feng was still a player. In terms of strength, he was still far inferior to the Mirage Beast. Hence, Feng was easily repelled, forced by the Mirage Beast to retreat step by step. Meanwhile, the Mirage Beast was also superior in terms of attack speed. Although the ensuing damage from a collision of weapons was small, after clashing for tens or even hundreds of times, Feng would eventually lose his life. After all, the Mirage Beast possessed 200,000 HP, while Feng's HP was just slightly over 2,600 after reaching level 21. Moreover, Feng was receiving more damage than the Mirage Beast from their exchanges. Not to mention, both sides were also executing various skills. When Feng used Thundering Flash, the Mirage Beast would activate Windwalk to dodge the attack. It would then counter with a Thundering Flash of its own. Knowing that he could not receive the attack directly, Feng, too, activated Windwalk to dodge. However, the Mirage Beast activated Wind Blade to immediately appear before Feng. It then followed up with a chop, sending an extremely quick vertical slash down towards its prey. Feng hastily used parry to block the Mirage Beast's chop. He countered with a Thunder Flame explosion right away. In the end, however, the Mirage Beast used parry to fend off the powerful attack. Feng then followed up with a Flame Burst, which was promptly countered with a defensive blade by the Mirage Beast. The exchange between both sides was extremely intense. After a dozen seconds or so, Feng's HP had fallen to 60%. On the other hand, the Mirage Beast had lost only a negligible amount of HP. Just the Mirage Beast's battle recovery negated most of the damage Feng had caused. As expected of the 7th trial, even the monster's normal attacks and skills are used with such viciousness. However, instead of feeling afraid, a sense of excitement was bubbling within Feng at the moment. However, do you know this move? Feng looked at the Mirage Beast, a faint smile appearing on his face. He then proceeded to activate the Black Emperor Inheritance. Dark fog immediately started emerging from the abyssal blade and then entered Feng's body. Chapter 296, Perfect Combination. Although the Mirage Beast was capable of duplicating a player's every skill, Feng had already obtained a clear understanding of the Mirage Beast during this short period of time. Feng had previously activated the Ice Blue Devil Flame after starting the battle. Yet, the Mirage Beast had not done so. The Ice Blue Devil Flame was not a skill Feng had learned. Instead, it was an additional effect provided by the item known as the Ice Blue Devil Flame. Hence, Feng could say with certainty that the Mirage Beast was incapable of duplicating the additional skills of a player's equipment. The moment the dark fog, which emanated from the Abyssal Blade, started permeating Feng's body, a faint silvery gray aura of death emerged on the surface of his body. Immediately, he charged at the Mirage Beast, while simultaneously activating 9 Dragon's Slash. The 12 Abyssal Blade Phantoms promptly started attacking the Mirage Beast the moment they came into existence. When the Mirage Beast saw the 12 Phantoms striking at it, it cleverly chose not to block them. Instead, it bombarded Feng with a thunder flame explosion. As long as Feng died, the 12 Abyssal Blade Phantoms would naturally disappear along with him. Seeing the Mirage Beast's actions, Feng simply revealed a calm smile. Rather than dodge the attack, however, Feng chose to activate Defensive Blade and proceeded to assault the Mirage Beast's vital point. Defensive Blade provided Feng with complete immunity to 4 melee attacks. He could simply allow the Mirage Beast's attack to connect without needing to defend using his sword at all. Meanwhile, Feng's twin swords had also landed on the Mirage Beast's body. Previously, in order to block Feng's Thunder Flame explosion, the Mirage Beast had used up its own defensive blade. Hence, it had no choice but to endure Feng's attacks right now. Feng took this chance to make 7 consecutive slashes on the Mirage Beast's body. His normal attacks caused over -500 damage, while critical hits dealt over -1000 damage. Meanwhile, each of the Abyssal Blade Phantoms could also inflict over -200 damage. Out of the 7 sword strikes Feng landed on the Mirage Beast, for achieved a critical hit. Coupling those sword strikes with the attacks of the Abyssal Blade Phantoms, Feng dealt over -7000 damage within this brief moment. It was a very impressive amount of damage. However, the Mirage Beast, which had taken on Feng's appearance, simply gave Feng a smile of disdain. The Mirage Beast looked as if it was saying, "This is your limit." The Mirage Beast had 200,000 HP, so -7000 damage was only a scratch to it. It would be perfectly fine again once it rubbed some spit on its wounds. On the other hand, now that Feng no longer possessed any life-saving skills, only death awaited him. A high HP is really a great asset. Feng sighed when he looked at the Mirage Beast's HP bar. In the next moment, though, Feng revealed a smile, saying, "However, you are still 10 years too early if you think you can overpower me just with this asset of yours alone." Feng activated the Purgatory Shadow's additional skill, Purgatory Power, increasing his attack speed by 100% and damage by 30% for 15 seconds. Feng then pointed the Abyssal Blade at the Mirage Beast charging at him. Abyssal Bind. 9 chilling chains instantly emerged from the ground, wrapping around and restraining the Mirage Beast. Abyssal Bind had a duration of 4 seconds. Despite being sealed, however, the Mirage Beast showed no signs of panic at all. It did not even try to resist in the slightest. Instead, it revealed a mocking expression as it looked at Feng, as if telling Feng to slash it as much as he wanted to. Previously, Feng had only managed to take away around 7,000 of its HP after attacking it for slightly over a second. Even if the Mirage Beast allowed Feng free rein for 4 full seconds, the most it would lose was around 30,000 HP. That was not even a quarter of its total HP. Moreover, after Feng exhausted all his skills, he would also lose his means of dealing bursts of damage. With neither life-saving skills nor bursting skills, the end result was obvious. Hence, the Mirage Beast felt very assured of its victory. Since the very beginning, this human never had a chance of defeating it. However, the Mirage Beast quickly discovered that reality was much crueler than fantasy. The Abyssal Bind indeed had a duration of only 4 seconds. However, the skill also possessed the effect of reducing its target's defense by 100%, and this allowed Feng's damage to abruptly soar. Now, each of Feng's normal attacks could deal over -700 damage. Miraculously, one of his attacks even triggered the Doom Curse, one of the Abyssal Blade's effects. Instantly, the Mirage Beast had its attributes reduced by 30%, and its maximum HP fell from 200,000 to 140,000. Engulfed by the storm of swords, the Mirage Beast's HP fell crazily. Feng also achieved critical hits with his attacks one after another, stacking layer upon layer of death aura around his body. In this situation, the 9 Dragon Slash could be said to be a perfect match for the Black Emperor inheritance. After activating the 9 Dragon Slash, Feng would not be lacking in death auras at all. Before the 4 seconds were up, the Mirage Beast's HP had already gone below the 70% threshold. Just as the Abyssal Bind was about to lose effect, and the Mirage Beast was about to regain its freedom, Feng abruptly leaped into the air and switched sword techniques. Simultaneously, he used 10 of the 30 layers of death aura he had accumulated to reduce the Thunder Flame Explosion's cooldown. The level 7 Thunder Flame Explosion had a cooldown of 30 seconds. Meanwhile, each layer of death aura could reduce a skill's cooldown by 3 seconds. After using 10 layers of death aura, Thunder Flame Explosion could be used again. However, Feng was still not done. He then used the remaining 20 layers of death aura on himself, instantly increasing all his basic attributes by 40%, and attack speed and movement speed by 20% for 10 seconds. After receiving this new buff, Feng executed Thunder Flame Explosion, bombarding the Mirage Beast's head and sending sparks of flame flying all around. A damage of over -1,300 points appeared above the Mirage Beast's head, and the monster was placed into a fainted state for 3 seconds. Unless a monster was completely immune to control skills, powerful experts could usually restrain said monster continuously until death. Meanwhile, it was obvious that the monsters were not completely immune to control skills. They simply had a certain degree of resistance that would degrade the effects of control skills. Otherwise, it would truly be impossible for players to clear the 12 trials. Nevertheless, Feng was very clear about his own situation. Currently, as his level was still low and the number of skills he had learned was few, he only possessed explosive power but no staying power. After his short burst, if his enemy wasn't dead, the only options left for him were either to die or to flee. At present, Feng still had many gaps to fill in terms of the skills he had learned. However, the Black Emperor inheritance just happened to be able to fill these gaps, allowing him to create a perfect cycle with his skills. Without the Black Emperor inheritance, Feng would not have dared to challenge the 7th trial at all. The only pity was that the effects of the Black Emperor inheritance could only be used on the skills Feng had personally learned. It could not be used on the additional skills that came with equipment or weapons. If it were actually possible to do so, it would simply be too overpowered. Throughout the fainted debuff's 3-second duration, Feng had not only dealt a ton of damage himself, he had also managed to collect over 20 layers of death aura, thanks to the 9 Dragon Slash. When the Mirage Beast was about to regain consciousness, Feng spent another 10 layers of death aura to reset the cooldown of Thunder Flame Explosion, before promptly using it on the Mirage Beast again. This time, however, the fainted debuff of Thunder Flame Explosion was less effective on the Mirage Beast. The debuff's duration was less than 3 seconds now. However, Feng did not care about this matter, because at this time, he was drowning in the pleasure he felt from brandishing his 2 swords. He felt that this was the true combat method a swordsman should have, and it was a combat method he had always been pursuing. Excessive strength easily gave rise to gaps. Instead of mindlessly trying to deal as much damage as possible, the true way to battle was to combine and coordinate one's skills to attack steadily like flowing water. In this way, Feng continually used Thunder Flame Explosion to incapacitate the Mirage Beast. Although the fainted debuff's effect grew weaker and weaker each time, the Mirage Beast's remaining 140,000 HP was still forcefully wiped out by Feng's perfect control. Ultimately, the Mirage Beast remained helpless until the very end. The various big shots present in the Eternal Throne also could not help but be shocked by this result. They had never imagined that Feng had such strength within him. System: Mirage Beast defeated. 7th trial completed. Rewarding 15 million EXP, 30 free mastery points, and 10 gold coins. Proficiency of all skills increased by 800 points. System, 7th trial cleared. Do you wish to start the next trial? The moment Feng received 15 million EXP, he instantly leveled up twice to level 23. Currently, only Blackie had reached level 23 throughout the entire White River City. However, Blackie had spent several days in order to go from level 21 to level 23. On the other hand, Feng had taken less than 10 seconds to do so. Feng then looked at the system notification. Although his heart was filled with anticipation towards the 8th trial, he still shook his head, thinking to himself, one needs to know when to stop. With the points I've earned, I can already exchange for an epic ranked item. If I were to choose to continue, I would no longer be an expert but a gambler. The 12 trials was the toughest trial of the War God's Temple. The difficulty of the trials would definitely multiply several-fold the further he went. In Feng's estimation, the monster of the 8th trial would not be just a special elite monster. Instead, it was highly possible for it to be a chieftain-ranked monster. A chieftain was much more powerful than a mere special elite. Aside from having even more HP, it would also possess a much greater resistance to control skills. Chieftain-ranked monsters also possess team-wipe skills, and a single mistake would mean the end for Feng. Moreover, Feng did not possess the slightest idea what kind of monster he would be facing in the 8th trial. If it was a chieftain-ranked monster that he was completely unfamiliar with, then he practically had no chance of successfully killing it. The ability to make calm analyses was also a prerequisite to becoming an expert in God's domain. As a first-rate expert, Feng naturally knew when to decisively give up. Following which, Feng selected No in reply to the system's prompt. He was then teleported out of the 12 trials. Chapter 297, Stigmata. Interesting. Truly interesting. Sitting on a silver throne, Eucharis voiced his praise as he looked at Feng. Your performance has completely surpassed our expectations. It is also for this reason that we have decided to reward you with an additional 2,000 merit points. It was also a fact that the last time someone managed to clear the 7th trial was over a millennium ago. System, rewarding 2,000 War God's Temple merit points. That's generous of them. An expression of joy appeared on Feng's face. With 1,500 merit points, Feng could afford to exchange for a dark gold ranked item. Meanwhile, 4,000 merit points would be equivalent to an epic ranked item. Hence, the additional 2,000 merit points he received right now was truly a big harvest. Since you've already passed our test, walk to the center of the chamber. We will give you the strength necessary to locate the 7 treasures, Eucharis said. Feng then strode to the center of the eternal throne. There were countless divine runes inscribed on the floor there, joined together to form a huge magic array. Meanwhile, the 50 silver thrones were hovering around this magic array, the thrones themselves apparently connected somehow with this magic array. Let us begin, then, Eucharis said as he looked at his companions. The lords of the silver thrones nodded their heads and promptly stood up. Immediately after, the mana inside the eternal throne started churning. The mana density here was no less than at the god's grave. Meanwhile, this thick mana clustered around the magic array, forming 50 dense-looking fluid balls. Each one of these fluid balls was the size of a basin. These balls of liquid mana were definitely the densest mana Feng had ever seen in all his years of playing God's domain. At this time, Eucharis had also turned his head to look at one of the lords of the golden thrones. My lord, the preparations are completed, Eucharis said respectfully. It is still not enough, the phantom sitting in a golden throne said in a low tone. Eucharis was confused by these words. The liquid mana they had formed was several hundred times more precious than even 7 luminaries crystals, and each and every drop had taken the 50 of them great efforts to form, not to mention 50 basin-sized liquid mana. Such an amount of liquid mana was more than enough to cast a silver stigmata. It is rare to find good talent. Let us lend a hand as well, the phantom sitting in a golden throne said to his 8 other companions. Very well, then. A person capable of passing the 7th trial is indeed worthy of the 9 of us taking action. The other 8 lords of the golden thrones nodded their heads in reply to their companion's suggestion. They then stood from their seats, floating in mid-air as they started to condense mana as well. In the blink of an eye, 9 house-sized balls of liquid mana appeared in the air above the thrones in the Eternal Throne. Eucharis and the others were shocked by this sight. Never would they have imagined that these 9 lords would actually take action and work together to cast a stigmata for a minor existence like Feng. This was the first time since the appearance of that absolute genius thousands of years ago. As for Feng, at this moment, he could no longer keep his mouth closed. In regard to liquid mana, Feng had seen this item before in the past. Mages considered it a priceless treasure. Even when offered epic-ranked items in trade, mage players would not be willing to part with the liquid mana they possessed. Just the basin-sized balls of liquid mana that each of the lords of the Silver Thrones had formed had already given Feng a great shock. Now, the 9 peerless existences floating in front of the golden thrones had actually managed to each form a house-sized ball of liquid mana. Judging based on sizes, the total liquid mana summoned by the 50 people from before did not amount to even 1/10 of a single house. In the next moment, all of the liquid mana summoned was injected into the magic array. The divine runes engraved into the chamber started lighting up one after another, and within moments, every single divine rune inside the grand chamber was giving off a golden glow. In the center of the Eternal Throne, a golden divine pattern took form. This divine pattern then melded with Feng's body. Feng immediately felt his body being filled up with an infinite amount of power, his mind clear as day, as if he knew everything there was to know in the world. However, this feeling only lasted for a few short seconds before it completely dissipated. Meanwhile, Feng's pupils, which were originally pitch black in color, had also turned golden for a brief moment. Although his pupils regained their original color, careful observation would reveal innumerable bright stars flashing within them, looking just like the starry skies at night. System, congratulations. Player has obtained golden stigmata. Reputation with the War God's Temple increased by 3,000 points. The seal on the Endless Abyss has been broken. If we wish to reseal the Endless Abyss, we need the assistance of the 7 treasures, which the gods had bestowed upon the human race. However, the 7 treasures have been missing for hundreds of years now, scattered throughout this large continent. A few of these 7 treasures have even been damaged. It would be extremely difficult to locate and gather the 7 treasures. However, with the stigmata that we have engraved into your body, your task of locating the 7 treasures should become much easier. As long as you come within a certain range of one of the 7 treasures, the stigmata will produce a response to notify you of it. If you happen to come across one of the 7 treasures that is damaged, the stigmata can also aid you in repairing it. Now that our part here is done, we will move to suppress the Endless Abyss. The fate of the entire continent will depend on you now. I pray that you will be able to gather the 7 treasures as soon as possible. System, Legendary Ranked Main Storyline Quest, 7 Treasures, accepted. Quest details, the 7 treasures have been scattered throughout the continent. Player is required to gather the 7 treasures within 2 years. Otherwise, the Endless Abyss will break through the War God's Temple suppression and plunge all inhabitants of God's domain into misery and suffering, turning the continent into the playground of darkness. If player is unable to complete this quest, player's level will drop by 30, all attributes will be permanently reduced by 70%, and all EXP gained will be reduced by 90%. The system really is ruthless. If I can't complete this quest, this account would definitely have to be scrapped. Fortunately, I have 2 years to complete it. Feng inwardly clicked his tongue when he read the system notification. However, just what is this stigmata thing? Feng wondered as there was nothing new on his body or in his bag. He then opened his status bar to take a look. As expected, there was an additional column labeled Stigmata there. Golden Stigmata. automatically perceives the presence of the 7 treasures within a radius of 5,000 yards. Detect can be used once a day to search for the specific location of the 7 treasures within a radius of 50,000 yards. In addition, player will receive Stigmata's power, providing player with ignore levels plus 20 and all resistances plus 40. For every increase in 5 levels, all attributes of player will increase by 5 points, in addition to receiving 10 free attribute points and 10 free mastery points. Player will also receive the skill Omniscient Eyes. Omniscient Eyes. A pair of eyes that can see through everything and find out all information. Nothing is capable of hiding from the Omniscient Eyes. The Omniscient Eyes have a perception range of 100 yards. Duration, 1 minute. Cooldown, 10 minutes. Such amazing effects. Feng's excitement after looking at the effects of the golden stigmata was indescribable. For starters, the additional 40 points in all resistances meant that he could ignore most of the environmental factors of many terrains. He would also receive reduced damage from spells. When battling against magic-type monsters, he could easily take on the role of an MT. However, the most amazing part about the golden stigmata would still have to be the increase in attributes. The golden stigmata was unlike the abyssal blade, whereby Feng would receive 2 additional free attribute points every time he leveled up. However, the golden stigmata would provide Feng with an average of 7 basic attribute points per level, 2 points of which were even free attribute points. This was definitely a huge increase. Moreover, the golden stigmata also provided Feng with a powerful identification skill. This skill would be of significant help when used against dungeon bosses or during field battles. It seems the heavenly dragon's breath is already waving its hands at me. Feng revealed a faint smile. Originally, the heavenly dragon's breath's requirement of 120 points in intelligence had given Feng a major headache. Now, however, with the bonuses provided by the golden stigmata and his magic weapon, as long as he received his promotion to a Tier 1 swordsman, he could definitely equip the heavenly dragon's breath before he reached level 30. He would actually get to equip a fragmented legendary item before reaching level 30. If it were in the past, Feng would not even have dared to dream about it. Following which, Feng called out the exchange interface of the War God's Temple and began to carefully look through the treasures there. Chapter 298, Deep Pockets. Previously, Feng had focused his attention purely on clearing the trials. Even when he upgraded the Abyssal Blade to level 20, he had only picked out a random level 20 dark gold weapon. The War God's Temple was one of the strongest powers in God's domain. This was a fact that remained true from ancient times up to the present. Feng had been able to fully experience this truth simply by seeing the various big shots in the Eternal Throne take action. Hence, one could just imagine how wealthy the War God's Temple's treasury would be. As for this War God's Temple exchange system, players would automatically activate it after obtaining the first clear on a 100-man team dungeon. However, one would already require large amounts of War God's Temple reputation even to exchange for a fine gold item. In God's domain, reputation with the War God's Temple was infamous for being extremely hard to obtain, not to mention meeting the required reputation for exchanging an epic item. If not for his quest, Feng would not have the chance to exchange for an epic ranked item. He would not even have the chance to lay eyes on them. He would not get the chance to see the never-before-seen divine artifacts either. I wonder what sort of divine artifacts are in the treasury of the War God's Temple. Feng's heart was filled with anticipation as he filtered the exchange window to display only divine artifacts. A total of 2 divine artifacts was shown. Luminous Starlight, Divine Rank, 2-handed Staff. Equipment requirement, Strength 3000, Intelligence 8000. Required merit points, 200,000. Skyfrost Blizzard, Divine Rank, 2-handed Spear. Equipment requirement, Strength 10,000, Intelligence 4,000. Required merit points, 250,000. Although he could not see the exact attributes of these 2 items, just the merit points demanded and the equipment requirements of these 2 divine artifacts left Feng utterly speechless. Can a person really equip these divine artifacts? Feng had his doubts. It was simply unthinkable for a person to possess 10,000 strength. Even during his prime, Feng had not even been close to meeting such a requirement. After having his fill of looking at the divine artifacts, Feng filtered the window to display only epic-ranked items. Immediately, an endless list of items appeared before him. A simple glance told Feng that there were more than 10,000 items listed, and he could not help but wish he could take them all to enrich his own guild warehouse. If Zero Wings Guild warehouse had so many epic-ranked items stored within it, then dominating the entire Star Moon Kingdom would not be a problem, let alone conquering White River City. However, this was only a passing thought. Feng currently had 6,800 merit points, and he could exchange for only a single epic-ranked item at most. However, it was also not a simple task to choose a suitable item for himself out of these tens of thousands of items. For starters, let's forget about weapons. Armor should be a good place to start from, Feng thought. Presently, he already possessed a magic weapon, the Abyssal Blade. The dark gold-ranked Purgatory's shadow he now wielded was also sufficient for his current self. If he wished to further increase his strength, then he needed to replace some of the mysterious iron and secret silver-ranked equipment he was still using. Yet, when Feng looked at the long list of equipment, his mind was racked with indecision. However, Feng still managed to pick out a few good breastplates that caught his fancy. Not only did these breastplates offer large amounts of strength and agility, some even provided additional intelligence, an attribute that Feng was currently in need of. Meanwhile, the usage levels for these breastplates ranged between level 20 to level 80, and they all were epic equipment that could level up to level 100. One of these breastplates was called the Purple Fire Battle Armor and it required 5,000 merit points. It was a breastplate that mainly focused on the strength attribute, in addition to providing a certain amount of intelligence. The other one was called Merciless and required 5,300 merit points. It was similarly a breastplate that mainly focused on the strength attribute, and likewise it provided a certain amount of intelligence. The final breastplate that caught Feng's fancy was a breastplate called the Carnage Chest Protector. It required 6,000 merit points to exchange for, and it provided a balanced amount of strength, agility, and intelligence. The design of the breastplate was also very good, and it was also Feng's favorite out of the three breastplates. However, if he were to exchange for the Carnage Chest Protector, he would not be able to do much with his remaining merit points. Let's take a look at some other items for now. After some contemplation, Feng filtered the exchange window to display ornaments that had a minimum equipment requirement of level 20. The merit points of the War God's Temple were extremely precious, so he needed to be extra careful when spending them. After browsing through the list for some time, Feng suddenly discovered an item he was extremely familiar with. Space Ring. However, instead of being of mysterious iron rank, this space ring was of epic rank. It was capable of storing up to 2,000 slots of items and cost 4,500 merit points. However, it would simply be a luxury to spend 4,500 merit points on this item, and Feng was definitely not willing to waste his precious merit points to purchase it. Isn't this the ring mentioned in the legends? Why is it categorized under epic ranked items? Feng noticed another ring he was familiar with. 7 Luminaries Ring. Feng had done his fair share of research on the history of God's domain during his past life. The 7 Luminaries Ring was a ring crafted by one of the ancient gods, the Twilight Goddess. 7 formidable powers were sealed inside this ring, and each one of these 7 powers could match the power of a god. Meanwhile, the 7 Luminaries Ring allowed the simultaneous use of these 7 powers. Even a mere mortal would have the power to destroy heaven and earth when equipped with this ring. Rumor had it that the legendary god Slayer possessed this 7 Luminaries Ring, and it was precisely because of this ring that he had the power to kill gods. Is it a replica? Feng did not believe that the War God's Temple possessed the real 7 Luminaries Ring. The reason being, an epic ranked item would not be powerful enough to decimate heaven and earth. Even a divine artifact did not have that strength. According to Feng's understanding, the Seven Luminaries ring was a true godly relic. However, even a replica was an extremely rare find. To put it bluntly, replicas were weaker copies of the real deal. Although the replica Seven Luminaries ring would not possess the power to decimate heaven and earth, at the very least, it could still be used to beat some tigers and kill some wolves. It should still have the original features, albeit greatly watered-down versions of them. Feng then looked at the merit points required, discovering that the ring actually cost 8,000 merit points. It was worth almost half of a fragmented legendary item. Are you kidding me? Is this the brand effect? Feng couldn't help but inwardly curse the war god's temple. It was simply a replica. The other epic ranked rings only cost 6,000 points, at most, so on what basis would a replica be worth 8,000 points? 8,000 merit points. It seems I won't be able to exchange for it, Feng sighed. Although he coveted the Seven Luminaries ring greatly, he had only 6,800 merit points. Following which, after taking his time looking through the myriad items, he still did not find anything that he fancied. Ultimately, he ended up choosing the Carnage Chest Protector. As for the Seven Luminaries ring, he could only slowly accumulate merit points and exchange for it in the future. System: 6,000 merit points are required to exchange for the Carnage Chest Protector. Current merit points in possession: 6,800. Do you wish to exchange? Feng immediately clicked yes. System: player's reputation with the War God's Temple has reached 3,000 points. Player is allowed to pay 20% of the required merit points using gold coins. Do you wish to pay using gold coins? It can't be, right? I can also pay using gold coins? Feng grew ecstatic. He had hope of obtaining the Seven Luminaries ring now. Currently, he needed to pay 1,800 gold coins for 1,200 merit points. This meant that each merit point was equivalent to 1 gold 50 silvers. Such a price was much more expensive than just simply buying epic ranked items on the market, where one epic ranked item was worth only around 1,000 gold. If 6,000 merit points were converted to gold coins, that would be a total of 9,000 gold. This price was at least 8 to 9 times more expensive than the markets. The system was truly Blackheart. However, this was a rare chance for Feng. If he could pay a portion of the merit points required using gold coins, he would be more than willing to do so. Following which, Feng chose to exchange for the Seven Luminaries ring instead. 20% of 8,000 merit points would be 1,600 points, which would be 2,400 gold coins. At this stage of the game, average players would be glad just to have a few extra silver coins to spend, and spending 20 to 30 silver coins at once would be considered an extravagance. As for gold coins, average players might not even know what these things look like. Currently, 1 gold coin could be sold for 11,000 credits. Meanwhile, 2,400 gold coins would be worth over 25 million credits. Even a first-rate guild would not spend so much money just to obtain an epic ranked item, not to mention spending 2,400 gold coins. If Aqua Rose were to find out about this matter, she would definitely label Feng a spendthrift. However, Feng chose to pay the 2,400 gold coins without hesitation. He had 5,000 gold on his person at this time, having originally intended to use this money to purchase a stall in Starmoon City. Now, though, doing so was no longer possible. After completing the exchange, a purple gold crystal ring appeared on Feng's palm. There were 7 different gems inlaid into the ring, and the entire ring itself exuded a faint purple aura. It looked absolutely luxurious and fascinating. Chapter 299, One Word. When Feng received the ring, he could not help but grow excited. In the past, a legendary item had been sold for tens of millions of credits at the world auction. At that time, the news had thoroughly shocked the entire world. Many people felt that the person who purchased the legendary item was a complete fool. After all, it was simply an item inside a virtual world. It was nothing more than a data-generated item. Only a person whose head was caught in the door would spend so much money to purchase it. Now, if Feng converted the war god's temple merit points and gold coins he had spent into credits, the total amount would be even higher than the price of the auctioned legendary item. More importantly, he had spent such a large sum just to obtain an epic item, which was 2 ranks lower than a legendary item. However, even if Feng were called a fool several hundred times over, he would still be willing to do what he had done without hesitation. He was only afraid that he would not get such a chance. Back then, countless people had ridiculed the person who purchased the legendary item as a big fool. Later on, however, that person became the guild leader of King's Return, Odin. King's Return was a super guild, and the territories it occupied surpassed even an empire. Meanwhile, as the guild leader of such an amazing guild, Odin was an existence that made everyone feel fear and respect. The wealth and status he possessed was simply unimaginable. Did anyone laugh at him after that? The answer was, no. Instead, the target of people's ridicule shifted to the fool who had sold the legendary item in the first place. At that time, not to mention several tens of million, even if traded using a city with a population of several millions, it would still have been a losing transaction. Meanwhile, the 7 Luminaries ring was a godly relic mentioned in legends. Although the one Feng had was only a replica, replicas could still be divided into different categories. If one took a replica of a fine gold item and a replica of an epic item and placed them side by side, without even making an in-depth comparison, one could already tell which one was the better item. After all, there was already a huge gap between the calibers of the 2 items. Moreover, the higher the quality of the target of replication, the greater the difficulty in replicating it. One could not produce a replica simply by wishing for it. The difficulty of producing an epic item that was the replica of a godly relic was much higher than simply producing a normal epic item. The difficulty of doing so might even rival the difficulty of producing a legendary item. The person who produced this ring must be a truly amazing forging sage. If the materials and energy used were of higher quality, the final product might even have become a legendary item. Feng was a forger himself, so he naturally could tell just how amazing the forger that managed to produce this 7 Luminaries ring was. The replica of a godly relic would definitely not have been easy to produce. Even a grandmaster forger would not be able to produce one. It would only be possible for a forging sage. 7 Luminaries ring, replica, ring, epic rank. Level 20, level 80, current level, 23. Equipment requirement, strength 200. Attributes will be adjusted according to user's level. Strength plus 45, agility plus 35, intelligence plus 35, endurance plus 30, vitality plus 30. Damage plus 10%. Maximum HP plus 15%. Ignore levels plus 10. All skills plus 2 levels. All items level requirement reduced by 5 levels. Additional skill dash. 7 Luminaries aura. There are 7 different auras: earth, water, wind, fire, time, illusion, and space. Only one aura can be used each time, and there will be a cooldown of 1 minute when changing between auras. Aura of Earth. Level 1 requires 1 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Defense increased by 30%. Damage taken reduced by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Absolute defense provides immunity to 7 attacks. Cooldown 1 minute 30 seconds. Aura of Water. Level 1 requires 1 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Received healing increased by 30%. Cast consumption reduced by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Life Bloom. Heal selected target for 10% HP every second for 30 seconds. Cooldown 1 minute 30 seconds. Aura of Wind. Level 1 requires 1 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Movement speed increased by 20%. Attack speed increased by 20%. Agility increased by 15%. Activatable skill dash. Wind Rider enables temporary flight and movement speed increase of 100% for 15 seconds. Cooldown 2 minutes. Aura of Fire. Level 1, requires 1 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Damage increased by 30%. Target's defense reduced by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Firestorm, inflicts 500% damage within a range of 10 by 10 yards for 5 seconds. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Aura of Time. Level 1, requires 2 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Cooldown of all skills reduced by 20%. Enemies within a 100-yard radius will have their movement speed and attack speed reduced by 20%, and cooldown of skills increased by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Absolute Time, prevents enemies within a range of 50 by 50 yards from using any skills or tools for 20 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Illusion. Level 1, requires 2 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. All attributes increased by 20%. Enemies within a 100-yard radius will have all their attributes reduced by 20%. Activatable skill dash. Fantasy World, immunity to all magic damage and 10% of magic damage received will be converted to healing to recover players' HP for 10 seconds. Cooldown, 3 minutes. Aura of Space. Level 1, requires 2 million EXP to upgrade to level 2. Immunity to all control and restricting effects. Activatable skill dash. Space Movement, instantly move to any location within a radius of 300,000 yards. Cooldown, 10 minutes. As expected of a Godly Relics replica. Even if it is only at epic rank, apart from the basic attributes it provides being inferior to a legendary item, its other aspects are much stronger. Feng's surprise reached its limits after he read the attributes of the 7 Luminaries ring. This was the first time Feng was seeing the exact abilities of the 7 Luminaries ring. At this moment, Feng finally understood why the legends had said that even an ordinary mortal would have the ability to decimate heaven and earth when in possession of the genuine 7 Luminaries ring. One could even kill gods with this ring. Meanwhile, the 7 Luminaries ring in Feng's hand was only a replica. It was also only at epic rank, and it was tens of thousands of miles away from being comparable to the genuine article. However, even if it was only an epic ranked replica, in Feng's eyes, it was already a miniature godly relic. It could easily outshine any other epic item. It would be great if I could upgrade this epic ranked 7 Luminaries ring to legendary rank. Feng could not help but start fantasizing. If he could raise the 7 Luminaries ring's rank to legendary, then its value would become immeasurable. At that time, only divine artifacts would be able to suppress it. After Feng equipped the 7 Luminaries ring, his attributes greatly increased. His intelligence reached 91 points, only a small distance short of 120 points. I can use the Aura of Earth when acting as an MT, Aura of Water when acting as a healer, Aura of Wind when hunting or escaping, Aura of Fire when battling, Aura of Time and Aura of Illusion when fighting in a team battle, and Aura of Space when I'm in a hurry. This ring covers almost every possible situation. It truly is the most powerful epic item. Feng had mostly grasped the uses of the 7 auras in the 7 Luminaries ring. It really made one wonder just how powerful the genuine godly relic was. Just as Feng was fantasizing about the genuine godly relic, he suddenly thought of another matter. If he used the Aura of Space, he could still make it if he hurried to the Silverleaf Forest right now. After all, a distance of 300,000 yards could generally cover 2 regions. Feng could first teleport to Stream Fort from White River City. Afterwards, he only needed to pass through 4 regions in order to arrive at the Silverleaf Forest. Under normal circumstances, even if Feng ran with all his might, he would still need around 5 hours to travel across these 4 regions. However, now that Feng could instantly travel across 2 regions, he might even arrive at the Silverleaf Forest before Gentle Snow's reinforcements did. Thinking so, Feng immediately departed from the War God's Temple and headed towards the teleportation hall of Star Moon City. Chapter 300, Midway Interception. The Silverleaf Forest, also called the Silver Forest by players, was a place filled with monsters ranging from level 18 to level 25. It was a rich land. As to why it was called rich, it was because the monsters here were a great source for high-quality leather. These leathers were important materials used in the production of bags and leather armor. Moreover, the monsters here also dropped high-quality meat. Most importantly, however, there were a total of 14 field bosses present in this Silverleaf Forest. Field bosses were one of the main sources of income for guilds. Also, unlike team dungeons, which would reset only once every 3 days, field bosses respawn daily. The improvement these field bosses could bring to a guild's equipment was quite significant. It was also the reason why Fire Dance had led Zero Wing's core team here to kill field bosses. Now, however, the Silverleaf Forest swarmed with members of Dark Star. These players were grouped into smaller teams of a dozen or so players and larger teams with as many as 100 or so players. Meanwhile, each and every one of these players was currently out searching for members of Zero Wing. Master Tyrant, we need to speed up our operations. If we wait until Gentle Snow's people arrive, it will be difficult if we wish to wipe out Zero Wing's main force, South Wolf said as he looked at Lone Tyrant. For her to actually willingly send out reinforcements, it seems that woman really does have a deep relationship with Zero Wing. Lone Tyrant was slightly surprised. His lips then curled into a sneer as he said, "Even so, she is too late. We've already searched through the majority of this Silverleaf Forest. We've also tightly blockaded the 3 exits for this place. In addition, we've also placed a guild war order to seal off the entire Silverleaf Forest, so the bastards won't be able to simply return to the city using a return scroll. It won't be long before we will find them and get rid of them. However, even if they did use a return scroll and return to the city, their red names would get them killed by the guards the moment they arrived. They would also get locked up and lose their freedom for a long period of time. Such a penalty would be much worse than simply getting killed by us." South Wolf nodded in agreement. In order to deal with Zero Wing's main force this time, Dark Star had spared no effort, sending out all the elite members it had. Even Underworld had sent a team of Underworld guards into the fray. There were over 10,000 players participating in the hunt this time around, and of those, 6,000 were used to hinder Zero Wing's reinforcements. With its current power, Zero Wing definitely could not contend against these 6,000 players. However, South Wolf himself could not help but admit that Zero Wing indeed possessed some real ability. Even when they were ambushed, they had still reacted in an extremely calm manner. They had immediately launched a counterattack and bravely fought back. Moreover, many within their ranks possessed relatively good techniques. This time, in order to kill the few hundred elite members of Zero Wing, Dark Star had lost over 1,000 members. South Wolf found this result simply unbelievable. The reason being, of the 1,000+ members that died, over 300 were elite members of Dark Star. Their fighting techniques could definitely be considered first-rate. The most unbelievable part was that even a few members of the Underworld Guards had been killed by Zero Wing. However, that was it. So what if Zero Wing was top-notch when it came to dungeon raiding? In a field battle, numbers triumphed over everything else. This was an unchangeable fact for all games. It's a pity that we didn't manage to locate Black Flame or Feng. If we could deal with them as well, we can thoroughly remove Zero Wing's name from White River City. We'll see if they dare act presumptuously in front of young Master Feng again. South Wolf's hatred of Sir Feng had never dissipated in the slightest, and he had always intended to fulfill the words he had spoken before. However, now that they were about to get rid of Zero Wing's main force, the anger in his heart had lessened slightly. Relax, those two will soon be finished as well. In White River City, nobody can protect them. Even the elites led by Gentle Snow won't be able to do so, Lone Tyrant said proudly. How so? Asked South Wolf, somewhat surprised. If Zero Wing can make allies, why can't Dark Star do so as well? Lone Tyrant softly chuckled. Allies? This was the first time South Wolf was hearing about this. Of course you wouldn't know about this matter. this is a heavily guarded secret of Dark Star. I made this alliance precisely to forestall Gentle Snow's intervention, and also to prevent them from joining together with Zero Wing to deal with us, Lone Tyrant said pridefully, as if he had full control over everything. If Gentle Snow wishes to bring reinforcements over, she'll have to first see if she can arrive at the Silverleaf Forest's entrance. Regarding the matter of exterminating Zero Wing, this time, you can rest assured. You just need to remind Vice Leader Feng of the agreement we made. Guild Leader Tyrant can rest assured on this matter. As long as you complete the task this time, we will definitely deliver the 100 million credits and weekly funding of 150 gold that we promised. South Wolf laughed. Fine, as long as you guys don't forget your promise. Lone Tyrant nodded in satisfaction. In truth, he did not place much importance on Zero Wing. When Feng Xianyang had asked him to deal with Black Flame and Zero Wing, Lone Tyrant had simply agreed, not giving the request much thought. After all, Lone Tyrant had never acknowledged Zero Wing as Dark Star's opponent. His true enemy was only one person, Gentle Snow. However, the capital injection offered by Feng Xianyang this time around was quite attractive, so Lone Tyrant naturally yielded to his request. With this capital injection, he would be able to contend against Gentle Snow for White River City on an equal footing. As an added bonus, he could also gain plenty of good equipment from Zero Wing. Guild Leader, we've found them, an assassin suddenly said in the team chat. Good, we'll head over there immediately. Lone Tyrant softly chuckled. He then gave a command through the guild channel, saying, everyone, hurry over to that location. We mustn't let them escape this time. The precious equipment on their bodies are waving their hands at us. Immediately, all the members of Dark Star that had come to the Silverleaf Forest cheered loudly. They had long since been drooling over Zero Wing's precious equipment. What secret silver equipment? Many members of Zero Wing's main force possessed fine gold equipment, and some even dark gold equipment. Meanwhile, at one of the dense thickets of the Silverleaf Forest, space suddenly ruptured. One man walked out from this rupture in space, and this person was none other than Feng, who had arrived using space movement. Space movement sure is convenient. Too bad it has a slightly long cooldown. Feng was liking the 7 luminaries ring more and more now. Feng had taken less than an hour to get here from Starmoon City, even arriving ahead of Gentle Snow. Just as Feng was about to contact Fire Dance, a call came from Gentle Snow. We got ambushed by 500 or so elite players, so it may be a little later before we can reach the Silverleaf Forest, Gentle Snow apologized. Ambushed? Feng was surprised. To actually muster so much manpower, that Lone Tyrant sure came prepared. We weren't ambushed by players from Dark Star. Gentle Snow shook her head. No? Is it Underworld, then? Feng couldn't help but feel amazed by Underworld strength. It definitely should not be easy to field so many players for this hunt. Yet, they were actually able to deploy another 500 plus elites to hinder Gentle Snow. The organization known as Underworld really possessed a powerful framework. No. They're elites from world dominators. My guess is that Dark Star has already joined hands with world dominators. Gentle Snow then suggested, it won't be possible for my side to break through anytime soon. If your reinforcements really can't break through, you all should just give up. If we wait until world dominators' troops head over there and carry out a pincer attack against you, then Zero Wing will truly be finished. I know. Feng fully understood the situation now. Dark Star wasn't planning on just giving a huge blow to Zero Wing this time. Instead, they intended to wipe out Zero Wing, removing it as a threat completely. Chapter 301, Fangs. The reinforcements from Ouroboros definitely won't make it now. Zero Wing's forces had also been blocked at the outer perimeter of the Silverleaf Forest. According to Feng's understanding, Dark Star currently had over 3,000 members searching inside the Silverleaf Forest, including practically all of Dark Star's elites. The 6,000 or so players blockading the outer perimeter were merely cannon fodder. If this stalemate continued, world dominators might succeed in carrying out a pincer attack with Dark Star, annihilating Zero Wing's forces. Aqua, would it be possible to break through on your side? Feng contacted Aqua Rose and asked. With the current numbers we have at hand, definitely not. However, I've already mentioned this matter in the guild channel and have sent for more members to hurry over. We should be able to gather another 3,000 members in half an hour. The level and quality of equipment of our guild members are much higher than Dark Star's, so as long as we can join with these 3,000 members, we can break through their blockade, Aqua Rose said confidently. She had faith in their guild's combat prowess. Although Zero Wing had far fewer members than Dark Star, with Dark Star having well over 30,000 members, there wasn't much of a difference in the number of elite players each guild possessed. Of Dark Star's 30,000 members, more than 10,000 were newbies around level 10. Meanwhile, the elites that managed to reach level 16 only numbered around 6,000. On the other hand, despite recruiting only a small amount of players, their member count only hovering slightly above 5,000, there were actually over 4,000 elites in Zero Wing who were over level 16. If other guilds discovered this fact, they would be shocked. This was also why Aqua Rose had maintained an optimistic view of Zero Wing's future. As long as Zero Wing could assemble these remaining 3,000 members, they could easily deal with Dark Star's 6,000 extras. However, it would be impossible for them to engage in an all-out war against Dark Star. After all, there was still a big gap in the total number of elites each guild possessed. On top of that, Dark Star still had over 10,000 extras. Even if their combat prowess was weak, they could still overwhelm and kill Zero Wing's elites using the advantage of numbers. I understand. World Dominators is currently hindering Gentle Snow's group. You should stop trying to break through into the Silverleaf Forest from your side. Instead, turn around and begin a pincer attack on World Dominators. Let's take this chance to kick them out of White River City, Feng issued his commands after some thought. However, Feng's words had shocked Aqua Rose into a daze. Guild leader, we're here to save people. Wouldn't it be a bad idea to start a war with World Dominators right now? Aqua Rose asked worriedly. World Dominators was a first-rate guild. Although the main force of World Dominators was not based in White River City, they still should not be taken lightly. Just like Ouroboros, even though their main force was based outside of White River City, they were still the top guild in White River City. Moreover, wasn't World Dominators similarly one of the top 6 guilds in White River City? If Zero Wing headed over and attacked the members of World Dominators right now, it would be a declaration of war. Dealing with Dark Star was already a huge headache. If they had to face another one of the top 6 guilds in White River City, how could Zero Wing continue mingling in White River City? It'll be alright, just go. Remember, the moment you arrive, immediately use a guild war order to seal the location. Don't allow anyone from World Dominators to use a return scroll to leave that area, and make sure you kill every single one of those bastards. Teach them that there is a price to pay if they wish to take advantage of Zero Wing, Feng growled murderously. Although Feng advocated a low-profile and secretive development, that did not mean that he would receive enemies with a smile, even when said enemy banged on their front door. Whether it was Dark Star or World Dominators, if they really thought Zero Wing was a sickly animal that they could easily bully, they should get ready to pay a heavy price. But what do we do about Fire Dance and the others? There are still more than 50 players with them, and they are all the cream of the crop of our guild. Now that they are all red names, if they die, our guild will suffer tremendous losses. Although Aqua Rose could discern Feng's rage and killing intent from the tone of his voice, she still tried to dissuade him. I'll save Fire Dance and the others. Feng answered with absolute confidence. Aqua Rose sighed at Feng's answer. However, she no longer chose to pursue the matter, and instead, she said, fine, but as the guild leader of Zero Wing, don't you think you should say a few words to your fellow guild members as well? You haven't expressed your intentions since Dark Star declared war against us. Although nobody in the guild has said anything about it, considering the weight of this incident in the declaration of war against world dominators, how can you stay silent? After the war with Dark Star began, both murderous intentions and excitement swept through everyone in Zero Wing. Many in the guild had expressed their eagerness for vengeance, speaking in the guild channel about how they were going to teach the bastards from Dark Star a lesson and show Dark Star know how amazing Zero Wing was. However, as the intensity of the battle between both guilds grew, and the number of deaths increased, the atmosphere in Zero Wing became heavy. Even though they had fought for so long, they still hadn't managed to break past Dark Star's blockade around the Silverleaf Forest. The number of dead Zero Wing elites inside the Silverleaf Forest also grew as time passed. Hence, it was inevitable that Zero Wing's momentum would falter. At this point, most of the Zero Wing members had already lost their motivation to continue fighting, not to mention carrying out a pincer attack on world dominators. Feng, of course, was aware of Aqua Rose's concerns. However, compared to just speaking through the guild channel, Feng had taken more decisive action and directly uploaded a post to the official forums. Dark Star, today you've dared to send tens of thousands of players to hunt the hundreds of players of Zero Wing. My Zero Wing guild will return this slight 100-fold. Even if we're down to our very last breath, we will massacre your 30,000 members as payback. The name of Black Flame, the chief forger of Star Moon Kingdom, had long since spread throughout the Star Moon Kingdom. Moreover, Zero Wing was also the first guild to own a guild residence. The moment this post uploaded, it immediately garnered the attention of the residents of Star Moon Kingdom. Crap. Are they starting an all-out war? I show my support for Zero Wing. Zero Wing is as amazing as expected. Even though there are only several hundred, Dark Star actually had to send tens of thousands of players to hunt them. Does anybody know the final result? I heard that Zero Wing had lost over 300 members to Dark Star already, and there are still a few dozen being hunted down. On the other hand, Dark Star has already lost over 1,000 members. Right now, every player in White River City is discussing this matter. Amazing. With just several hundred players on their side, even when faced with more than 10,000 players, they can still kill over 1,000 players. Dozens are still alive, too. I also want to join Zero Wing and become an expert. I despise Dark Star. If they can, they should duel Zero Wing fairly. What's so great about using numbers to bully someone? I am one of the members of Zero Wing that had been surrounded and killed. You guys should have seen how amazing our guild Sister Dance and Brother Black fought. Sister Dance weaved across thousands of players, killing over 100 Dark Star members in a row. Brother Black's spells instantly vaporized hundreds of Dark Star members the moment it landed. I have a video recording of the battle, so come to Zero Wing's forum section if you want to have a look at it. After Feng uploaded his post, the entire forum exploded in a storm of comments. The players that had only recently started playing God's Domain also started paying attention to Zero Wing as a result of this commotion, especially after seeing the battlefield containing thousands of players. In comparison, the battle scenes they usually saw in movies were boring. The scene where countless stars crashed onto the battlefield, destroying the land and instantly turning hundreds of players into ash, especially stunned them. They couldn't help their boiling blood after watching this scene. After watching this video, many players started considering joining Zero Wing. Chapter 302, Strong Capital. Feng had used the name of Black Flame when he uploaded his post. Hence, just a few minutes after the post went live, it had already received a massive amount of visitors. The number of replies easily passed 10,000. Shortly after, the post had been automatically pinned at the top of the forums by the game officials, and there was also an additional bright red war tag on the post. This single word was eye-catching. Meanwhile, due to Feng's post, the originally crestfallen guild members' fighting spirits immediately reignited, and they hungered for Dark Star's death. Moreover, the video of Dark Star's ambush of Zero Wing had also shocked its viewers. The video allowed everyone to understand that even players could become so powerful. When the stars of light descended, the scene seemed as if the world was coming to an end, and within an instant, hundreds of players had been vaporized. Even players outside of the spell's damage range were not spared as the wind generated by the spell's impact sent them flying. Seeing the power of this skill, everyone finally understood why Blackie had such a high level. While everyone else struggled to kill a single monster, Blackie could simply lure several hundred monsters and kill all of them with a single move. How could anybody hope to compare to such a leveling speed? After watching this video, countless players started dreaming of the day that they, too, could possess such power. Such a skill was far more useful than any piece of quality equipment. Dark Star, just you wait. I will kill everyone who tries to block our way. That's right. Brother Black and Sister Dance are waiting for us right now. How can we be so shameful? Aren't they just 6,000 monkeys? Even if I have to die 10 times over, I will extinguish Dark Star. The members of Zero Wing all released spirited battle cries as they glared at the members of Dark Star blocking their path. As long as Aqua Rose gave the command, they would charge and take action. However, just as they turned their gazes to Aqua Rose, Zero Wing's vice leader, Feng's voice suddenly dominated the guild channel. I'm sure everyone is clear about what has happened today. Dark Star has declared all-out war against us, and they wish to wipe our names from White River City. Although we, Zero Wing, have just started our journey and the member count of our guild cannot compare to the other guilds in White River City, Dark Star has actually started a war with us, thinking that we are easy to bully. What do you all think we should do about this? Kill them all. That's right. Why should we fear fighting back? Now, let's show those bastards that, if they wish to swallow us whole, they should prepare to lose a few teeth. Since everyone is going to try their best, as the guild leader, I cannot be stingy. Before the battle, I sent for someone to retrieve some battle tools stored inside the guild warehouse. Everyone should now look for Vice Leader Aqua Rose for your share. Also, for those who participate in today's battle, you will gain 10 guild points for each enemy you kill. Those who manage to accumulate 10 kills will be rewarded one piece of secret silver equipment, while those who kill 50 will get a piece of fine gold equipment. If you manage to kill 100, you will even receive a private room in the guild residence. Even if you die in battle, you will still receive 10 guild points as compensation. The moment Feng finished his monologue, everyone's hearts beat fervently, and their eyes glowed with excitement. Zero Wing's administration was very thorough, and one could only use guild points to exchange for items from the guild warehouse. However, it was extremely difficult for members to earn guild points. If converted to coins, each guild point was worth around 30 copper. Meanwhile, trading them for a level 10 bronze equipment required 30 guild points, which would be 9 silver coins. Currently, level 10 bronze equipment only sold for around 7 to 8 silver coins on the market. To put it simply, it was not a worthwhile exchange. It was also for this reason that another batch of players had withdrawn from the guild. In fact, this was something Feng and Aqua Rose had already taken into consideration. If the guild sold equipment cheaper than market price, then many members would try to take advantage of this fact to trade for guild equipment to resell elsewhere. They could then use the money to buy guild points again. Hence, the high prices were set to prevent an outflow of guild equipment and items. However, after the emergence of the guild residence and the additional benefit of renting private rooms, everyone in the guild no longer had a disfavorable opinion of the guild's administration. On the contrary, they all felt that the administration was extremely fair. Private rooms were something ordinary players dared not even dream of obtaining in other guilds. After all, the land in White River City and each guild residence could only contain a limited number of private rooms. Meanwhile, the higher-ups of the guild would surely occupy these rooms. Ordinary members would never be able to enjoy this benefit. Yet, Zero Wing had defied all expectations and actually opened up a few private rooms for ordinary members. Ordinary members of Zero Wing could actually rent these private rooms for a low cost of only 2 guild points per day. Although the price was slightly higher than staying a night at a hotel, unlike hotels, one could accumulate double EXP buffs from private rooms. With this feature, it was definitely worth spending a few extra copper coins. The members present in this battle also heard of the benefits provided by other guilds. Although other guilds also provided rewards and compensation to its members for killing and dying in battle, the amount offered was far worse than Fangs. 10 guild points equaled 3 silver coins. There were 3,000 members participating in this battle. If each one of them managed to kill one enemy, the total guild points awarded would be the equivalent of 9,000 silver coins or 90 gold. This was a massive sum of money. Moreover, Feng also promised to compensate for each guild member's death. At the very least, he would have to spend over 100 gold. If converted to credits, 100 gold would be worth over 1 million. This situation reaffirmed everyone's confidence in Zero Wing's financial resources and background. With such great benefits, powerful financial resources, and most importantly, such an amazing guild leader, was it possible for such a guild not to grow powerful? Even if I have to die, I'll still drag at least 10 guys with me. Humph. Don't you have any ambition? Didn't you hear the guild leader say that he would reward those who managed to get 100 kills with their own private room? You have to be capable of actually doing that first. Have you not seen how easily Brother Black and Sister Dance managed it? The momentum pushing the guild members to kill their enemies was stronger than ever now. Although the guild would only rent out, not sell, any of the private rooms, one could imagine how much a private room would cost. It was definitely not something worth a measly 1,000 guild points. Although their chances of actually killing 100 people were slim, there was still a small possibility. Naturally, they would fight for that glimmer of hope. Everyone, come to me to receive the frost grenades. Each person will only get 2. Party leaders will get 3 frost grenades and 1 tier 0 attack or defense magic scroll. Team leaders and vice team leaders will receive 5 frost grenades and 1 tier 1 magic scroll. After Feng finished his speech, Aqua Rose started distributing the supportive tools to every guild member. In order to display Zero Wing's might to everyone in Star Moon Kingdom, Feng bled his pockets dry this time. He retrieved all the supportive tools from inside the guild warehouse for this battle. The moment everyone received the supportive tools, everyone felt even more certain of their victory over Dark Star. Just by arming all of them with a single frost grenade, they could easily force Dark Star's 6,000 members to eat a huge loss. Adding in the control effect of the frost grenades, their chances of defeating these 6,000 players increased by at least 30%. Vice Leader Aqua, how should we fight? We'll all listen to your commands. That's right. With these tools of war, I can easily kill over 10 people and earn a ton. 100 people, here I come. Let's hope that those bastards don't run away. Everyone started joking around as they felt confident in defeating Dark Star now. Since everyone is ready, follow me. Aqua Rose nodded. The next moment, however, she turned around and ran in the opposite direction of the Silverleaf Forest. Chapter 303, Hold Nothing Back. Deep inside the Silverleaf Forest. Boss, I don't know what's going on with Zero Wing, but they've retreated from Silverleaf Forest's entrance. An assassin who used stealth to stalk Zero Wing's troops reported in the team chat. It seems that they're giving up on trying to get in. Ha ha ha. That black flame made such a bold statement, yet, now, he's fleeing with his tail between his legs? If we upload this news to the forums, he will definitely become a laughing stock. South Wolf laughed loudly when he received this report. Lone Tyrant's lips curled into a sneer as well, saying contemptuously, Zero Wing is just a gathering of nobodies. Since the very beginning, they have never stood a chance at victory. They should consider themselves lucky. If they waited until we finished wiping out Zero Wing's core team, we would have turned around and begun a pincer attack on them with world dominators. At that time, even their remaining 3,000 to 4,000 members would have no hope, and Zero Wing would utterly disappear from White River City. Guild Leader Tyrant is as amazing as expected. It turns out that you had such a plan readied as well. No wonder you are an expert capable of competing with Gentle Snow over White River City. Not only do you possess extraordinary strength, but your intellect is also at the top of White River City. South Wolf flattered as he came to a realization. As long as you can remove Zero Wing's name from White River City, the only obstacle in your way will be Ouroboros. However, with Dark Star and World Dominators working together, even the team led by Gentle Snow would no longer pose a threat. At that time, Guild Leader Tyrant would become the true overlord of White River City. It's still too early to make such claims. Lone Tyrant chuckled as pleasure filled his heart. He then continued, saying, ultimately, Gentle Snow is a well-known expert and leader in the virtual gaming world. I'm afraid that I'll need more strength before I can chase her out of White River City. When the time comes, it will also depend on whether or not Underworld plays its part. Ha ha ha. Guild Leader Tyrant can rest assured. As long as Dark Star possesses a high chance of becoming the overlord of White River City, Underworld will invest greatly in it. When the time comes, Underworld will send even more experts to help Dark Star solidify its position as overlord. South Wolf laughed, answering with certainty. With your word, South Wolf, I can rest assured. Lone Tyrant laughed with South Wolf. Currently, confidence regarding Dark Star's future filled Lone Tyrant. Now that Zero Wing has given up on saving Fire Dance and the core members, although I pity them slightly, we should still quickly end their lives. When South Wolf thought of Fire Dance's sexy body, a lecherous smile unconsciously appeared on his face. Elsewhere, Fire Dance and her group were currently in a very precarious situation. Players from Dark Star had them surrounded, and although they had constantly carved out a path of bodies, they could not use return scrolls to escape. Dark Star had the Silverleaf Forest under siege, and all exits were blocked. If this situation continued, they would, sooner or later, lose their lives. However, they could not afford to die. At this moment, there were only 30+ players remaining in their team, and they were red names. As for herself and Blackie, their names were already close to turning black now. If they died, losing 3 or 4 levels would only be a small matter. The most crucial point was that they could not afford the loss of their equipment. Sister Fire Dance, what are we going to do now? The bastards from Dark Star have discovered our location again, Lonely Snow asked. At this moment, he appeared to be in quite a sorry state. After being surrounded and attacked over a dozen times, his willpower had started to falter as well. Unfortunately, no matter what they did, they could not find a way to escape from Dark Star. Let's retreat first, then talk. Aqua Rose and the others are currently breaking through the entrance now. Moreover, they also have a large stock of supportive tools, so they can definitely break past Dark Star's blockade. We just need to hold on for a little while longer before we're rescued. Fire Dance had also racked her mind, trying to think of a way to escape. However, Dark Star simply had too many players. No matter how they tried to run, another group of players always waited for them. If not for the fact that their equipment and techniques were so impressive, they would have long since died. Just as everyone was desperately running for their lives, Feng contacted Fire Dance and suddenly joined the team. Guild Leader. Guild Leader. You're finally here. A glimmer of hope immediately flared in Blackie's heart when he noticed Feng join the team. Blackie's opinion of Feng had reached blind worship long ago, and he believed that there was nothing that Feng could not accomplish. In fact, Blackie wasn't alone in having such an opinion. Everyone in the core team thought so as well. Meanwhile, the originally gloomy atmosphere instantly dispersed upon Feng's arrival. Guild Leader, you're even more amazing than the Fountain of Life. By simply joining the team, you have caused everyone's spirits to recover instantly. Their fighting powers have doubled. Fire Dance joked. Ha ha ha. I never knew I had such an effect. Feng laughed. They all could not help but laugh with him. Instantly, the atmosphere relaxed. How are things on your side? Feng asked. Dark Star has us forced into a corner, and it's practically impossible for barge through any of the exits. At most, I think we have another half an hour before we'll have to make a final stand against them. Fire Dance gave Feng a brief explanation of their current position. Meanwhile, as a veteran of the battlefield, Feng quickly grasped the general situation. If Fire Dance and her group faced Dark Star's 3,000 players in direct combat, the conclusion would be obvious. Even if they had Feng with them, the result would be the same. After a long moment of silence. I understand. Head to these coordinates. I'll meet you guys there, Feng said. Now that Fire Dance's group had been forced to such a corner, even Feng could not turn the tides. Dark Star had 3,000 players fighting for them, not just 1 or 200. At this stage of the game, most players should have already learned quite a few skills, and of them, there would definitely be a few life-saving skills. Furthermore, their fighting techniques would have improved greatly. It was no longer possible for Feng to slaughter them by the hundreds as he had with Martial Union. Fortunately, Feng was very familiar with the Silverleaf Forest. After giving it some thought, he concluded that there was only one location Fire Dance and the others could head to survive. The chances for survival was less than 30%. However, a 30% chance of survival was far better than none at all. After all, if they faced Dark Star's 3,000-strong army, they would die 10 out of 10 times. Hopefully, Aqua Rose can take action quickly. Otherwise, we really will suffer a total defeat. Following which, Feng disconnected his call with Fire Dance. He then activated the 7 Luminaries Ring space movement once more, teleporting to the meeting location that he gave Fire Dance's group. Although Guild War orders could seal off the usage of teleportation scrolls, they were completely useless against the power of the 7 Luminaries Ring. On the gravel road leading to the Silverleaf Forest, the players from World Dominators had already started battling the players from Ouroboros. Throughout their battle, both sides had constantly sent for more reinforcements, involving more and more players in the fray. Both sides were first-rate guilds with extraordinary backgrounds. To hinder Gentle Snow's advance, World Dominators had sent over 10,000 players to this fight. Meanwhile, Gentle Snow had even more players on her side. Currently, her army had increased to over 14,000 players. The intensity of the battle between these two guilds far outstripped the battle between Dark Star and Zero Wing. This massive encounter had shocked many players in White River City. Just what was happening in White River City? Why were 4 of the top 6 guilds in White River City battling it out against each other? Moreover, it wasn't just a minor skirmish between guilds. These 4 guilds had actually started a full-fledged war against each other, where only one side would rest when the other was obliterated. Such a situation was simply unimaginable in other cities. Players were still in the initial stages of God's domain, and currently, every guild in God's domain fully occupied themselves with raiding dungeons and development. Yet, these 4 guilds in White River City actually dared to start a full-fledged war. Regardless of which side won or lost, they would all be losers in God's domain. Snow, this war is getting out of hand. Both sides have already incurred over 1,000 fatalities. If this situation continues, Emperor's Light and the Assassins' Alliance might be tempted to take advantage of the situation. I think we should retreat for now. After fighting for so long, we have fulfilled our duty to Zero Wing, Zhao Yueru urged as she looked at Gentle Snow, who currently issued commands. Chapter 304, Ferocious Beasts Released. In reply to Zhao Yueru's suggestion, Gentle Snow merely shook her head and revealed a smile, not bothering to give any additional explanations. Are we just going to continue fighting like this? Although we have the advantage right now, if we wish to repel World Dominators, our losses will be immense. We might very well ruin the great advantage we have in White River City. Snow, you should know that the people of Star Moon City have long since had an opinion of you. If we lose the advantage we have in White River City, they will take advantage of the situation and cause you trouble. Zhao Yueru could not make sense of Gentle Snow's thoughts. Although they were good friends with Black Flame, it wasn't enough of a reason to destroy the influence they had obtained through painstaking efforts. The fight between their 2 guilds was no longer a simple skirmish, but a war that involved over 10,000 people. Without sufficient benefits, one should never start a war. War was not a child's game. Not only were they required to give out rewards and compensation to the participants, but they also needed to pay for many other expenditures. To put it plainly, war was just a way for players to waste money. Though, it would not have mattered as much if they could pay these expenses using credits. After all, their families in the real world were both wealthy and influential. They could easily ignore such insignificant expenses. However, what they were not spending credits, but coins, a commodity that could not be easily obtained. If they continued fighting this war, the advantage they previously held over the other guilds in White River City would fall behind significantly. Zhao Yueru knew that Gentle Snow was a person who spoke of righteousness and possessed high morals. If it were for a personal matter, she would never allow her companions to fight in such a desperate war. It was also the reason many experts willingly followed and respected her. Even if it were for personal reasons, Gentle Snow absolutely would not drag in the entirety of Ouroboros in White River City. Is Zero Wing truly worth the effort to attempt to win this battle and protect them? Zhao Yueru asked in confusion. Yes. I believe my own foresight. Gentle Snow's crystal-clear eyes glowed with firm confidence. In truth, Gentle Snow wanted to say that she believed in Black Flame and Yifeng's potential. In addition, there was also a great power hidden behind Black Flame. Even to this moment, Gentle Snow had yet to glean any important information about Black Flame. Not only could he form a connection with the Starstreak trading firm, but he was also allowed to sell his products there. This was definitely not a feat that any ordinary power could help achieve. At the very least, to this day, Gentle Snow had yet to find any other guild successfully forming a relationship with the NPCs of a trading firm. Moreover, the experts in Zero Wing had practically appeared from thin air. If one claimed that no power supported Zero Wing from behind, then how was it even possible for a recently established guild like Zero Wing to draw in so many experts? Hence, Gentle Snow felt confident that she had made the right decision. However, if Gentle Snow discovered that Feng had simply recruited people in Jinhai City who had been experts in the past, just what would her expression be? As the desperate battle between Ouroboros and World Dominators continued, the vice leader of World Dominators, Blood Halberd, experienced a slight headache. Has that Gentle Snow gone insane? Isn't she just helping out some foreign guild? Is there a need to try so desperately? Blood Halberd appeared disappointed and confused as he looked at the casualty report he had received. As of this moment, they had lost over 1,500 players. Just the compensation they had to pay out had already reached astronomical amounts. The more Blood Halberd read the death toll written in the report, the darker his expression became. No matter how he considered things, World Dominators would undertake a huge loss this time. Guild Leader Tyrant, World Dominators has incurred an immense loss due to your great plan. If you don't compensate us appropriately, don't blame me if the relationship between our guilds turns sour. Blood Halberd was furious now. He felt that Lone Tyrant had used him as cannon fodder. Vice Leader Blood, please calm your anger. This entire incident was purely an accident. I did not expect Gentle Snow to be a madman. Rest assured, I will definitely compensate you for your losses. Lone Tyrant agreed to Blood Halberd's demands without hesitation. Or to put it in another way, he did not dare hesitate. Although Dark Star was powerful in White River City, it was still weaker than Ouroboros. If a misunderstanding occurred with World Dominators, it would be a disaster if they joined hands with Ouroboros to deal with Dark Star. Hence, Lone Tyrant had no choice but to compensate them. After all, he was the one who had requested World Dominators to hinder Ouroboros. However, Lone Tyrant's heart ached when he thought about how he needed to compensate for over 1,500 deaths. Fine. Since Guild Leader Tyrant has made such a promise, I won't say anything more. While Blood Halberd and Lone Tyrant conversed, Aqua Rose and the members of Zero Wing finally arrived at the battlefield between Ouroboros and World Dominators. It's up to all of you now, Feng spoke in the guild channel. Guild Leader, leave it to us. At worst, we will just have to die once. No matter what, we are going to teach World Dominators that, if they wish to join hands with Dark Star to face us, they better not think of leaving unscathed. Right. Since they wish to start a war, we will show them that anybody who dares provoke Zero Wing will suffer the consequences. Energy filled the 3,000+ members of Zero Wing that had hurried to the battlefield. The moment Feng gave the order, they would instantly transform into ferocious beasts and tear apart their enemies. Good, listen to my command. Assassins, your job is to use stealth and sneak over to World Dominator's healers. Shield warriors, guardian knights, berserkers, and swordsmen, all of you are to charge into the heart of World Dominators and break their formation. Healers, follow the group closely and keep everyone in the unit alive. As for ranged attackers, block their path of retreat. We will not let a single one of them leave here alive. Aqua Rose will be in charge of commanding the ranged classes. Under Feng's commands, everyone from Zero Wing took organized action. Very quickly, more than 300 assassins snuck to World Dominator's rear lines. Meanwhile, as all of the players from World Dominators were occupied with their battle against Ouroboros, none of them managed to discover the forces of Zero Wing arriving behind them, let alone the assassins sneaking up on them. Assassins, confirm your targets. Have 2 people deal with each target and kill the healers with certainty. Do not give World Dominators a chance to react, Feng said in the guild channel. Guild leader, we're in position, the assassin party leader reported. Good. On the count of 5, take action together. After the assassins make their move, shield warriors and guardian knights, remember to activate your life-saving skills immediately as you start your charge. You all are to become a wall for everyone else and block of every bit of damage sent at you. As you move closer to World Dominators, everyone is to attack using the frost grenades that you receive to break their first line of defense. Afterward, shatter their formation. Does everyone understand? Feng said. Following which, as Feng started his countdown, everyone began to grow nervous. It was especially true for the assassins tasked with launching the first attacks. Meanwhile, the healers of World Dominators stood comfortably in their positions as they carried out their duties. None of them had any sense of danger instilled in them at all. However, they could not be blamed for this. After all, they had an army of over 10,000 strong between the perceived enemy and themselves. No enemy should be able to touch them unless they broke through the defensive lines. Also, even if 1 or 2 players managed to sneak past the front lines, what could they possibly do to several hundred healers? The moment they revealed themselves, they would die instantly. Good. On my command. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Kill. Let not a single one of them go. After Feng's shout, all 300+ assassins took action simultaneously, with every 2 assassins launching attacks on a single healer. When ambushed by an assassin, any ordinary healer would lose more than half of their HP, let alone an ambush by 2 elite assassins. Momentarily, many of World Dominator's healers felt a sting at the back of their heads. After they were forced into a fainted state, 2 piercing cold daggers slashed across their necks, followed by 2 frightening damages appearing above their heads. In the next moment, their bodies were no longer under their control. In the blink of an eye, World Dominators lost close to 200 healers. Immediately, Zero Wing's melee players began their charge. A moment later, Aqua Rose used a guild war order to lock down the entire region, preventing any from using a return scroll to leave the battlefield. Chapter 305, Zero Wing's Might. The sudden loss of almost 200 healers stunned everyone from World Dominators. It's an ambush. Run. Faced with several hundred assassins so close without any protectors by their side, the only way the healers of World Dominators could escape death was to run towards the main army of World Dominators. However, healers were inherently slow. The assassins from Zero Wing quickly caught up to them. Originally, if these healers had worked together to retaliate against the assassins from Zero Wing, they could have at least offered some semblance of resistance. It would not have been so easy to kill them. However, their decision to run immediately created chaos, and those who could have originally survived died as well. Without any healing or resistance, these healers were lambs to the slaughter. Zero Wing's assassins killed them arbitrarily. By the time the rear guards of world dominators came to the rescue, a majority of their healers were already dead. Just as the surviving healers thought they were safe, they quickly discovered several thousand players charging in their direction. Every one of these players was like a ferocious tiger as they crashed into their enemies' ranks, and the several hundred players who served as world dominators' rear guards were instantly dispersed. This situation allowed the assassins to continue their slaughter of the healers. Guild leader, not good. Our rear line has been ambushed, and we've lost over half of our healers already. These newcomers are fierce, and the rear line needs help to hold them off, one of the team leaders defending against Zero Wing's ambush hurriedly reported. What? Who are these people? Blood Halberd had been busy issuing commands from the front lines all this time. The moment he received the report, he immediately turned to look. He discovered that there were actually several thousand players charging and killing into their ranks, and anyone from world dominators who tried to block their charge instantly died. These newcomers were like a sharp blade, instantly splitting world dominators' forces in half with their precision charge. World dominators currently fought a desperate battle against Ouroboros, and the damage they received from such an ambush was self-evident. Without the healer's support, the shield warriors and guardian knights who stood on the front lines rapidly fell, one after another. The front line was also continuously forced into a retreat, and within moments, over 100 players from world dominators had died. Damn! Just who are they? To actually dare start a war against world dominators, do they not want to live anymore? Blood Halberd's eyes had already become blood-red from anger. He wished he could immediately chop their ambushers into a million pieces. Guild leader, they're wearing a six-winged emblem on their chests. They should be players from Zero Wing, a ranger reported. Zero Wing? Weren't they fighting Dark Star? Why have they suddenly appeared here? Questions filled Blood Halberd's mind. However, he halted his thoughts as he spoke through the guild's war channel. These losers have actually dared ambush us. They're simply overestimating themselves. Everyone, turn around and focus all your attacks on Zero Wing. Wipe these fools from Zero Wing out first. Blood Halberd was one of the upper echelons of world dominators, and he had experienced many battles that involved tens of thousands of players in the past. Thus, he was very clear on what actions he needed to take right now. World Dominators was no longer a match for Ouroboros in this battle. Now that Zero Wing had ambushed them from behind, launching a pincer attack with Ouroboros, World Dominators was in a fatal situation. If they continued this battle, they would suffer total annihilation. The only options they had was to either break through from one side, or defend their positions and wait for help. Since the second option was clearly not viable, the only option they had left was to break through and escape this battlefield. However, it was clearly impossible for them to break through from Ouroboros' side. That left them with annihilating Zero Wing. Regarding numbers and total combat power, World Dominators was above Zero Wing by leaps and bounds. Meanwhile, on Ouroboros' side, Gentle Snow very quickly noticed that someone had ambushed World Dominators. Moreover, the ambush came from directly behind World Dominators. Although Gentle Snow did not know who launched the attack, this was a great chance that she could not miss. They might even be able to give World Dominators a huge blow in this situation. Everyone, charge forward. Don't let World Dominators reorganize their formation. Gentle Snow commanded her forces, wearing a faint smile on her face. To readjust their formation, World Dominators turned around to attack Zero Wing. Unfortunately, that decision came at a high price. Unwittingly, World Dominators lost thousands of their members. Blood Halberd's heart bled at this sight. Although they had fought Ouroboros for a long time, they had only lost around 1,000 or so players. Now, in just a few short minutes, they lost several times that amount. Kill. Annihilate Zero Wing. Blood Halberd bellowed through the guild channel as he pointed his sword at Zero Wing's 3,000 members. Currently, world dominators still had close to 10,000 players alive. It would be an easy task for them to deal with just 3,000 players. Both sides immediately entered a desperate struggle, flames and arrows filling the skies. A few independent players that stood a distance away were thoroughly shocked and they witnessed this scene. This battle was far more realistic and shocking than any movie they had watched before. Sounds of smashing and swords clashing filled the surroundings. There was also the constant stream of spells bombarding the land, sending debris and dust flying into the air. This was truly a bloody battlefield. In this battlefield, personal strength was insignificant. When struck by hundreds of fireballs and frost arrows, even the most powerful MTs would die instantly. Very good. It should be about time to use them now. Feng closely observed the battle through the live stream from Aqua Rose. After watching both sides clash for some time and seeing how closely packed the players on the enemy's side were, Feng commanded in the guild channel, "Use all your frost grenades and magic scrolls now. Hold nothing back and use all of them at once." The members of Zero Wing who had long since hungered for this moment immediately tossed the frost grenades in their hands. This time around, the members of Zero Wing only used basic frost grenades. Moreover, frost grenades were only half as effective when used against players, so each basic frost grenade only dealt 100 damage to players. However, with several thousand players using them simultaneously, the accumulated damage could easily exceed 10,000 points. Currently, a majority of the players in God's domain were around level 15, and even top-tier experts would be level 20 at best. Meanwhile, a level 20 shield warrior or guardian knight would only have around 3,000 HP. In the face of so many basic frost grenades, these players were cannon fodder. They could die at any given moment. Shortly after the basic frost grenades were thrown, a large swath of players from world dominators died. As for those lucky enough to survive, they transformed into pure white ice sculptures. Immediately, the reinforcements from world dominators who were just about to charge over were stunned stiff on the spot, intense fear permeating their hearts. As for Gentle Snow who stood at a far distance, she had only noticed the center of the battlefield suddenly transforming into a snowy field. In this lush, green land surrounded by blistering hot temperatures, this white contrast made for relatively beautiful scenery. However, Blood Halberd was not in the mood to appreciate this pleasing sight. Zero Wing's combined frost grenade attack had instantly killed over 1,000 players. Adding in the follow-up control effect of the frost grenades and Ouroboros' continuous assault from behind, the death toll in this brief moment was at least 3,000. Moreover, even without this wave of frost grenades, Blood Halberd had discovered something very important. Although Zero Wing only had around 3,000 members, a large majority of them were elite players. Not only did they possess high levels, but their equipment was also of good quality. With these two advantages, these players could easily take on 2 to 3 average players. If the 10,000 or so players of world dominators faced off against 3,000 average players, it would not take them very long to annihilate the latter and break out of this pincer attack. However, it was a completely different story if they faced 3,000 elite players. There was absolutely no way to break through this hurdle in a short time. Not to mention, they also had to pay a huge price to do so. It was the same situation when world dominators had initially hindered Ouroboros' advance towards the Silverleaf Forest. At that time, they had only used several hundred elite players to block Ouroboros' army of 2,000 players. Now that world dominators faced 3,000 elite players, in addition to the previous frost grenade attack, Blood Halberd began to consider suicide. If he had known about this earlier, he would have chosen to break through the pincer attack through Ouroboros' side. It would have been much easier that way. How did Zero Wing come into possession so many elite players? Blood Halberd could neither understand why nor did he try to understand it, as there was only one thing he could do right now. Everyone, listen to my command. All of you use return scrolls and leave this place immediately. Blood Halberd shouted reluctantly in the guild channel. This could not be helped. If they received several more waves of frost grenade attacks from Zero Wing, in addition to Ouroboros' assault, world dominators would be annihilated. There was only one thing they could do now. Escape. Although it would be both costly and time-consuming to use return scrolls, and even more people would die, it was a much better alternative than suffering total annihilation. Guild leader, this is not good. This area has been sealed. We can't use return scrolls. Chapter 306, The Price of Being a Passerby. His subordinates report stunned Blood Halberd. Do they really intend to fight to the bitter end? Blood Halberd's eyes turned crimson, his current mood similar to an imminent volcanic eruption. With the entire area sealed off, preventing the use of return scrolls, world dominators had no way to escape. The steep slopes on both sides of this area left only one line of movement available. One could only advance forward or retreat backward, there was no third option available. Right now, however, Ouroboros blocked the road back to the city, while Zero Wing blocked the road to the Silverleaf Forest. Originally, Blood Halberd felt only contempt for Zero Wing's attempt to launch a pincer attack on world dominators. Now that he had personally witnessed Zero Wing's strength, however, Blood Halberd no longer dared underestimate Zero Wing. Whether it was Ouroboros or Zero Wing, neither of them was easy to deal with. Blood Halberd's current situation could be perfectly described as being stuck between a rock and a hard place. However, inaction would similarly result in world dominators' complete annihilation. Originally, world dominators had come to this place simply to aid Dark Star in delaying Ouroboros' advance. Now, however, they had become the center of the war. Everyone, defensive formation. Blood Halberd commanded after a bit of thought, not daring to delay any longer. The members of World Dominators immediately formed a circle to repel attacks from both sides and reduce their losses. Meanwhile, Blood Halberd sent out a communication request to Lone Tyrant. Originally, Lone Tyrant was still joyous over locating Fire Dance's group. However, he suddenly received an urgent call from Blood Halberd. Vice Leader Blood, I will definitely send over the compensation after this entire matter is dealt with. Please stop rushing me, Lone Tyrant said, slightly annoyed. Compensation? Blood Halberd's anger boiled over when he heard this word. Originally, Dark Star was the one responsible for dealing with Zero Wing. However, World Dominators now had to handle both Zero Wing and Ouroboros, placing Blood Halberd's guild in such a dangerous situation. Was this something mere compensation could make up for? Guild Leader Tyrant, I promise to help you delay Ouroboros, not to start an all-out war with them. Now, not only have you let Zero Wing's forces run away, you're even making world dominators face two guilds at once. Meanwhile, you, Guild Leader Tyrant, only know how to utter the word compensation? Guild Leader Tyrant, you're good. You're very good. The more Blood Halberd spoke, the angrier he got. He felt that Lone Tyrant had plotted against world dominators all this time. First, Lone Tyrant had let them fight it out with Ouroboros. Then, he had allowed Zero Wing's forces to escape. In order to escape, Zero Wing could only pass through the area where world dominators and Ouroboros were fighting. In the end, Zero Wing had no choice but to start a fight with world dominators. With this plan, Lone Tyrant could kill 3 birds with 1 stone. Success meant that 3 of the top 6 guilds in White River City would receive a huge blow, with Dark Star the only beneficiary of this chaos. Lone Tyrant was certain that there was a misunderstanding the moment he heard Blood Halberd's words. After all, he had not intentionally allowed Zero Wing to escape. Instead, the players from Zero Wing had left on their own, and they just happened to encounter world dominators on their way back, which resulted in world dominators suffering a pincer attack. Everything was simply a coincidence. As for Zero Wing's decision to directly oppose world dominators, any normal person would not do that. Currently, Dark Star was in an all-out war with Zero Wing, a war that would end only when one side was completely annihilated. Just before, Black Flame had even publicly declared that he would make Dark Star pay the price of 30,000 people. So, why would they suddenly go and provoke a first-rate guild like World Dominators? Only a person who wished to die a quicker death or a person with brain damage would declare war simultaneously on 2 of the top 6 guilds in White River City. However, no matter what Lone Tyrant said now, Blood Halberd definitely would not believe him. Hence, Lone Tyrant hurriedly said, "Vice Leader Blood, I truly know nothing about this matter. I'll send my army over there right away. If we execute a pincer attack, I'm sure we can wipe out Zero Wing." "Well, come quickly, then," Blood Halberd shouted in rage. The more he listened to Lone Tyrant speak, the more disgusted he was with this person. Lone Tyrant had actually used world dominators as bait. However, the priority right now was for the guild to escape this predicament, everything else was secondary. "Okay, I'll have them head over immediately." Lone Tyrant ended the call and promptly contacted his troops stationed outside the Silverleaf Forest. Of the 6,000 players there, Lone Tyrant sent 5,000 over to deal with Zero Wing, while the remaining 1,000 stayed behind to continue blocking the exits of the Silverleaf Forest. However, as time slowly passed, World Dominator's situation turned grimmer and grimmer. Zero Wing's 3,000 elites were incredibly zealous. After several consecutive charges, although Zero Wing lost several hundred of their members, World Dominators lost at least 3 to 4 times that number. Not to mention, Ouroboros was also madly assaulting them on the other side. After gathering up his courage, one of the team leaders of the elite teams, Lonely, walked up to Blood Halberd and asked in a soft tone, "Guild leader, if this situation continues, we'll definitely be finished. Are the reinforcements from Dark Star not here yet? If the elite members of World Dominators were to lose 2 or 3 levels, in addition to most of the weapons and equipment on their bodies, World Dominators would definitely not be able to compete for White River City any longer." "I know that. But they still need around 10 minutes before they can arrive." At this moment, Blood Halberd's heart was bleeding in pain. However, he was helpless in this situation, unless of course Zero Wing or Ouroboros showed mercy and let them go. Blood Halberd's eyes shone when this thought occurred to him. He was not out of options yet. World Dominators and Ouroboros were bitter enemies, so it was obviously impossible to ask Ouroboros to show mercy. However, there was a slight possibility of success with Zero Wing. After all, World Dominators had never come into direct conflict with Zero Wing before. Also, Zero Wing's main enemy was Dark Star, while World Dominators was simply a passerby in this matter. Hence, Blood Halberd immediately tried to contact Feng. "Vice Leader Halberd, to what do I owe this pleasure?" Feng asked, a smile on his face. When he received Blood Halberd's call, he had chosen to accept it right away. "Guild Leader Black Flame, the war between our guilds is just a misunderstanding. World Dominators has a feud only with Ouroboros. We came here simply to fight Ouroboros, and we truly never intended to fight your guild. In regard to the losses and inconvenience caused to your guild, I can compensate you on behalf of World Dominators. As long as Zero Wing stops attacking us right now, I will immediately have our guild's finance department send over 1 million credits to serve as compensation. What do you think, Guild Leader Black Flame?" Although Blood Halberd had tried to speak casually, he could not completely hide the panic in his tone. After all, at least one elite member of World Dominators was dying with each passing second. 1 million credits. In past virtual reality games, even well-known gaming workshops needed a month's time to earn such a sum. Hence, Blood Halberd's offer of 1 million clearly showed his sincerity. So it was all a misunderstanding. Feng acted as if he had come to a sudden realization, letting Blood Halberd feel a hint of hope. However, before Blood Halberd could even feel joy, Feng's tone changed abruptly as he said, "I am moved by Vice Leader Halberd's generosity. Sadly, one of my shortcomings as a person is that I am extremely headstrong. Since it is a misunderstanding, let us just continue this misunderstanding, then. You're making an enemy out of World Dominators. Aren't you afraid of our retaliation?" Blood Halberd screamed in anger. "Vice Leader Halberd, what's there to get angry about? The moment we started playing this game, we were bound to meet with some trouble. If you aren't even prepared to suffer such a small setback, I think it is better for you to retire sooner rather than later. Although World Dominators is only playing the role of a passerby in Darkstar's plan this time, by provoking Zero Wing, you also have to pay a terrible price. Feng chuckled. However, don't you worry. Darkstar will soon be joining you all. After Feng disconnected the call, he then contacted Aqua Rose, saying, no need to be polite. Leave none of them alive. Show everyone the consequences for those who dare to be a passerby, and have thoughts about Zero Wing. Chapter 307, Famous in a Single War. Damn! This black flame is practically a mad dog that bites anyone it sees. Blood Halberd cursed. I'll definitely remember this matter. If there is a chance in the future, I'll definitely not let him off. Vice Leader, we've lost too many healers. This long battle is also taking a heavy toll on the remaining healers' mana. They can't leave their combat status to use the magic spring, so they can only rely on mana recovery potions to replenish their mana. However, most of them have already consumed all the potions they have. If the reinforcements from Darkstar still don't arrive, we will definitely be finished, Lonely reported hurriedly. Naturally, Blood Halberd was aware of this matter. Before Zero Wing's intervention, World Dominators had been able to split its healers into two teams, with one team healing the players at the front and the other falling back to replenish their mana, and rotate them accordingly. However, Zero Wing's ambush had taken out over half of World Dominators' healers. If World Dominators were to insist on maintaining the rotation system, its death toll would at least double. Damn that lone tyrant. If he had not goaded me into hindering Ouroboros, we would not have fallen into this situation. Blood Halberd also hated Lone Tyrant greatly at this moment, regretting his decision to listen to him. If he had known that Zero Wing was so powerful, and also how insane Black Flame was, he definitely would have chosen to watch this entire affair play out from a safe distance. In the end, he now suffered from his own decision. Originally, there had already been a gap between World Dominators and Zero Wing in overall combat power. Now that World Dominators had lost the support of its healers, that gap had widened further. Following the crippling of World Dominators' healers, its players were like wheat being reaped, their lives effortlessly harvested by the members of Zero Wing. In contrast, Zero Wing's healers carried out their task with great zeal. The frontline players of Zero Wing found it hard to die even if they wanted to. Within moments, the mortality ratio of the two guilds soared to frightening heights. When Zero Wing initiated their ambush, the mortality ratio had only been 1-3, with World Dominators having the higher number of deaths. Now, however, that ratio had risen to 1-8 and would soon approach 1-9. In other words, for every player Zero Wing lost, World Dominators would lose 8 or 9 players. On the other front, the players from Ouroboros were fighting valiantly as well, and they had succeeded in pushing the original mortality ratio of 1-1. 2 up to the current ratio of 1-3. No, we can't wait any longer. At this rate, we'll be completely annihilated by the time the reinforcements from Darkstar arrive. Both anger and grief filled Blood Halberd at this moment. World Dominators had started this war with over 10,000 members. Yet, now, only 5,000 or so members remained alive. Immediately, Blood Halberd shouted in the guild channel, "All of you, charge together with me. We're leaving with as many lives as we can." At Blood Halberd's command, everyone from World Dominators commenced a desperate charge while ignoring even the magical bombardments from enemy mages. Naturally, such an exodus only made it much easier for Zero Wing and Ouroboros to kill them. The price these two guilds had to pay also lessened greatly. However, with 5,000 plus players desperately trying to escape en masse, it was also impossible for the two guilds to kill every single one of them. In the end, less than 500 of the 10,000 plus members World Dominators had started this war with made it out alive, everyone else died. After suffering such a massive loss, World Dominators no longer had any chance of competing for dominance in White River City. Zero Wing really is amazing. Although they only number around 3,000 or so, a large majority of them are actually elite players. After obtaining victory in this battle, Zhao Yueru had a renewed opinion of the guild called Zero Wing. With only around 5,000 members in Zero Wing, its total member count was not even comparable to a third-rate guild's. However, after Zhao Yueru witnessed the combat power its 3,000-plus members displayed in this battle, she no longer found it strange for Zero Wing to be considered one of the top 6 guilds in White River City. Zero Wing was indeed worthy of its fame. Second-rate and third-rate guilds would be no match for Zero Wing at all. Moreover, the destructive force displayed by the frost grenades that Zero Wing had used was simply too shocking. If not for those tools of mass destruction, this war might still be ongoing right now, while the price Ouroboros had to pay would also be greater. Snow, your foresight is as diabolical as always. Zero Wing is indeed not a simple existence, Zhao Yueru giggled. Although world dominators managed to escape with a few hundred of its members, its heavy losses this time means it no longer has any chance of fighting over White River City. Without this old nemesis of ours, Ouroboros has a greater chance of becoming the overlord of White River City. Gentle Snow rolled her eyes at the giggling Zhao Yueru. The girl actually dared describe her in such a way. However, Zero Wing's performance had truly surpassed her expectations. Although Zero Wing had a mere 3,000 or so members on their side, in the face of world dominators' overwhelming numbers, Zero Wing had lost only a paltry 1,000 or so members. This was definitely a brilliant battle record. If the beginning of this battle had not been so intense, the peak of mortality occurring during this period of time, Zero Wing would have lost at most 500 or 600 members in this entire battle. Meanwhile, world dominators had lost over 10,000 players. One could just see how powerful Zero Wing was. After the end of the battle, both sides started distributing the spoils of war. Even leaving aside the equipment that was originally dropped by both sides, the number of weapons and equipment dropped by the 10,000-plus players from world dominators remained quite considerable. Very quickly, Aqua Rose and Gentle Snow agreed to split the loot in a 2-to-8 ratio based on the total value of all the equipment dropped. Zero Wing would receive 20% of the total loot, while Ouroboros would receive 80%. However, Zero Wing would mainly receive equipment of bronze rank or higher. Aqua Rose settled for such an unbalanced ratio due to Feng's arrangements. As to why Feng would propose such a division, firstly, it was his form of gratitude for Ouroboros' aid. Secondly, they had no use for that many pieces of equipment. The reason being, most of the equipment left behind by world dominators were not even bronze rank. As for mysterious iron equipment, there were only a pitiful amount of them dropped in this battle. Arming the guild's normal members with such poor quality equipment might be fine, but for the elite members, Feng had yet to fall to such a low standard. Hence, he was satisfied as long as he could obtain some bronze-ranked weapons and equipment to arm the newcomers of the guild. Meanwhile, after the battle involving tens of thousands of players ended, the independent players who had been observing it uploaded recordings of the entire battle to the forums. The battle instantly became a sensation in White River City. Nobody could have ever imagined that Zero Wing was actually so fierce. Its battle record was also brilliantly amazing. However, Zero Wing's decision to fight world dominators confused many. Instead of killing the members of Dark Star, they had chosen to annihilate world dominators, which had played the role of a passerby. Many people posted about Zero Wing's ruthlessness for such a decision. In regard to this, Feng did not offer any explanation. Even when Aqua Rose raised this matter to Feng, he only laughed it off without saying anything. In truth, Feng really did have his own motives for making such a decision. On one side, there was Dark Star, a guild supported by a gigantic existence like Underworld. On the other, there was World Dominators, a first-rate guild with an extraordinary background. If these two guilds cooperated to suppress Zero Wing, such an alliance would be detrimental to Zero Wing's development in White River City, even with the help of Ouroboros. After Feng found out that these two guilds had joined hands, the first thing he thought to do was to annihilate World Dominators in White River City. Although World Dominators was a first-rate guild, their main force was not based in Starmoon Kingdom. There were countless cities in God's domain. After World Dominators spread its forces widely, it had only a few experts in each city. The guild would only make a small investment in a small city like White River City. However, everything would change if World Dominators truly had a good chance of becoming the overlord of White River City. At such a time, the guild would definitely increase its investments greatly, and then, World Dominators' power in White River City would grow several-fold, making it even harder to deal with. In the past, Blood Halberd had achieved amazing feats in White River City. He also had the help of a first-rate expert like Lonely, so he had managed to develop the guild to the point where it had the possibility of becoming the overlord of White River City. As a result, World Dominators had boosted the number of experts and funding it sent over, in order to solidify its influence over White River City. Thus, the guild's power in White River City greatly increased, and it became even more powerful than the current Ouroboros. Now that World Dominators had decided to oppose Zero Wing, Feng definitely could not allow it to develop in White River City. Otherwise, they would have to face a powerful foe in the future. This was also the reason why Feng Xianyang decided to annihilate Zero Wing without hesitation, after Feng rejected Feng Xuanyang's proposal. Although Feng Xuanyang's decision was due in part to his vicious personality, the more important reason was how very great a potential a guild that possessed a guild residence had. If he did not destroy Zero Wing while the guild was still in its infancy, he would be raising a tiger to serve as his future enemy. Feng's actions were exactly the same as Feng Xuanyang's. He was killing a powerful opponent that was still in its cradle. Meanwhile, World Dominators starting a fight with Ouroboros at a place with only one escape route was the perfect chance for Feng to do so. Naturally, Feng would not let such a rare chance get away. Shortly after the battle with World Dominators ended, Fire Dance and the others also arrived at the location Feng had appointed. Guild leader, we've already arrived at the location you specified. What are we supposed to do next? Fire Dance said in the team chat after confirming her group's location. Chapter 308, Black Flame and Yifeng. Good, I'll head over there now, Feng said. Standing atop a tree, he inspected his surroundings before jumping off the tree and proceeding towards the meeting point. Now that Fire Dance and the others had accomplished the difficult first step, what remained depended solely on luck. If his plan worked, then Fire Dance's group would succeed in escaping. As for directly confronting Dark Star, choosing to face over 3,000 elites from Dark Star was simply suicidal. Oh. Someone's coming over. While Feng was transversing the forest, his keen five senses suddenly picked up on movement a short distance away. He promptly jumped up onto a tree. Towards the west side of the forest, a team of over 100 elite players was currently searching the vicinity as they moved. The majority of these players were red names, creating a very eye-catching sight. Moreover, none of them tried to hide their presence, which made it very easy for Feng to discover them. Uncle South Wolf, Zero Wing has played a significant role in the war between Ouroboros and World Dominators this time. We also can't overlook the combat power Zero Wing displayed. It is definitely not as simple as it appears in the video recordings of their battle. If Zero Wing had not suddenly ambushed World Dominators from behind, World Dominators would not have lost so overwhelmingly. Now, World Dominators in White River City is only an empty shell of its past self. Blood Halberd is also continuously lambasting Lone Tyrant with a barrage of curses. However, since Lone Tyrant does not dare to become hostile with Blood Halberd, he has no choice but to suffer in silence. Black Flame is truly decisive with his actions. Not only did he eliminate World Dominators from White River City, he has also severed a large portion of Dark Star's support. In addition, the post he made before declaring war on Dark Star has led to the war between Zero Wing and World Dominators receiving widespread attention. Using only 3,000 players to defeat a first-rate guild like World Dominators, with such a brilliant battle record, Zero Wing has instantly risen to fame from this single battle. Killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Even I am starting to admire this person named Black Flame. The commentary of the female summoner walking beside South Wolf on Zero Wing's battle was eloquent. She spoke as if she knew every little detail of Feng's plan. This girl was around 20 years old. She had a pair of beautiful eyes that was both bright and dazzling, making it difficult to discern the girl's thoughts. Her cherry lips were currently tilted up slightly, while her eyelids were curved into small crescents. The girl exuded a calm and mysterious aura. During the few occasions when she giggled, she would also reveal a noble and elegant temperament that drew the attention of others despite themselves. Yulan, you are Underworld's female Zhuge. How can you uplift others' prestige while downplaying your own worth? That black flame simply got lucky. He definitely isn't as smart as you make him out to be. South Wolf felt that Yulan overestimated Black Flame, who South Wolf believed was simply an arrogant and despotic person. Meanwhile, Zero Wing's victory in the war this time and the subsequent trouble that visited Dark Star were simply coincidences. There was nothing worthy of their concern. Maybe I am overthinking things, Yulan laughed, having no intention of refuting South Wolf's words. Although Zero Wing has risen to fame with this single battle and they have also managed to cause us some trouble, their core team is still trapped in this Silverleaf forest. We have them completely surrounded now. Even if Ouroboros and the rest of Zero Wing rush over here right away, they will still be too late to change anything. As long as Zero Wing's core team is annihilated, the guild itself will receive a fatal blow. At that time, we'll see how Black Flame can continue acting rampantly, South Wolf scoffed proudly. Zero Wing had only managed to garner the reputation it had today due to their continuous monopoly of the top 10 positions on the ranking list of White River City. The 8 experts of Zero Wing were known by all, and they still occupied the top 8 positions on the ranking list until this day. Nobody had managed to threaten their positions all this time. If these 8 players died today, they would definitely fall out of the top 10. Subsequently, Zero Wing would also lose the fame and prestige it possessed. I guess this could be considered a flaw of guild leader Black Flame. Players have always worshipped the strong. Although occupying the top position on the ranking list would bring him great benefits, if he fails to maintain this position, it would instead become a sword that will stab him in the heart. Yulan nodded. In the middle of South Wolf and Yulan's conversation, an assassin suddenly spoke in the team chat, "Brother South Wolf, I found them." Assassins were not only proficient in the art of assassination, they were also proficient in the art of tracking. Hence, assassins were definitely the best choice when hunting for players. Good. Even the heavens are aiding me. I will bring an end to Zero Wing. Blade, immediately inform guild leader Tyrant of this and have them come quickly. We'll go ahead and delay Fire Dance's group. The moment everyone arrives will be their time of death. South Wolf laughed. It is a pity Feng isn't with them. Otherwise, I will definitely make him regret making a mockery out of Underworld. Regardless, I will use the deaths of Zero Wing's core team members as a greeting gift to him. Feng? Uncle South Wolf, are you referring to the god-ranked expert of White River City, that Feng? Yulan suddenly grew interested. What dog's fart expert? If he had not hidden himself, would have already made him kneel and beg for forgiveness by now, South Wolf said in disdain. Yulan entered a deep contemplation after hearing South Wolf's words. Suddenly, a smile appeared on her face and a hint of joy glimmered in her eyes. It was as if she had found a new toy to play with. Laughing lightly, she said, "First, there is Black Flame, and now, there is Feng, a god-ranked expert. Zero Wing is truly an interesting existence." Just as South Wolf's group was closing in on Fire Dance and the others, Feng hid himself within the dense treetops, waiting for South Wolf's group to approach him. "Guild leader, we're ready," Fire Dance said through the team chat. "Good. Fire Dance, you and the other assassins sneak over to their healers and prepare an ambush. Make sure to maintain a certain distance from their group and be careful of detection. Although it is unlikely that any of them have learned a stealth erasing skill, we cannot rule out even the slightest possibility. Wait until they have entered Blackie's attack range, then make your move. No matter what, do not let them discover our tracks, Feng said quietly. After Feng had discovered South Wolf's group, he had immediately contacted Fire Dance and ordered them to ready themselves to get rid of these players. Feng had chosen to do so mainly because it was of utmost importance that Dark Star not find out where they were going. South Wolf's elite team consisted of over 100 players. All of them possessed relatively good quality equipment. Although there were a few bronze equipment mixed in, most of them were using mysterious iron equipment. This team was definitely one of Dark Star's core teams. Conversely, although Feng had only around 30 players on his side, every one of them was an expert. It was not exactly impossible for them to eliminate these 100-plus elite players in a short amount of time. Not to mention, Feng still had plenty of basic frost grenades and Tier 1 magic scrolls on him. Naturally, he had distributed quite a lot of them to Fire Dance and the others. In addition, if they could kill all these elite players, the deaths would cause significant damage to Dark Star. So, why not? Leave it to me. Saying so, Fire Dance immediately led 5 assassins and snuck over. Although South Wolf's group consisted of 100-plus elite players, their levels were only around level 17, with level 19 being the highest. Meanwhile, Fire Dance was currently level 21. Fire Dance's techniques and equipment also surpassed these elite players by leaps and bounds. All these factors combined allowed Fire Dance to effortlessly sneak up on the enemy's healers. The 5 other assassins accompanying Fire Dance were not weaklings either. They were all core members of Zero Wing, sporting equipment of mysterious iron rank or above, and were also at level 20 right now. When they snuck up on the healers of Dark Star, none of them were detected. So when South Wolf and his group walked into Blackie's attack range, they all remained unaware of the looming danger. Kill! Feng commanded through the team chat, and immediately, everyone sprang into action. Chapter 309, Boss Ranked MT. The 10 healers from Dark Star did not detect the presence of the 6 figures swiftly closing in on them at all. Fire Dance was extremely quick. She crossed the distance of 8 yards within an instant. The level 19 cleric that Fire Dance approached had no clue whatsoever. The cleric did not sense even a thread of danger as a snowy cold dagger stabbed into the back of his head. Before the cleric could even feel pain, another dagger, this one scorching hot, slashed his neck. After placing the level 19 cleric in a fainted state, Fire Dance immediately followed up with a flurry of attacks. Backstab. Shadow Strike. Quadruple Assassinate. A series of frightening damages appeared above the cleric's head. Fire Dance was currently using the pair of fine gold ranked daggers she had received from Feng. In addition, the equipment she wore consisted of fine gold and even dark gold items. For her, dealing with a cloth armor class like a cleric was a piece of cake. She instantly killed the level 19 cleric, who did not possess even 1,800 HP. The other 5 assassins that moved with Fire Dance performed similarly well, killing their targets almost as quickly as Fire Dance had hers. They actually dared to lay an ambush on us. What a bunch of suicidal fools. Everyone, do not panic. Guardian Knights, cast Protection Blessing on the healers. Rangers, mark those fools immediately, absolutely do not let them disappear again. Elementalists, use Ice-type magic to restrict their movements. Everyone else, charge at them. South Wolf quickly issued commands after discovering the deaths of 6 of their healers, a cold sneer on his face. The shield warriors and berserkers closest to the healers reacted quickly. They used charge on the 6 enemy assassins in an attempt to save the remaining healers in their team. Simultaneously, the Guardian Knights of Dark Star cast Protection Blessing on the 4 remaining healers, reducing the physical damage they received by 50%. One could not help but admit that the Dark Star elites were truly skilled players. Their response made it practically impossible for Fire Dance's group to kill the remaining 4 healers now. In the face of the shield warriors and berserkers' charge and also the barrage of frost arrows sent by the elementalists, Fire Dance and her fellow assassins promptly used wind steps, gaining more than a second's worth of invincibility, thanks to the skill's effect. All 6 of them then turned around and ran, leaving behind only the corpses of the 6 healers they killed as they plunged into the forest. Despicable. Assassins, chase after them. Make sure you don't lose track of them. South Wolf bellowed, anger filling his heart. Their team consisted of 100+ elite players. Yet, not only had they lost 6 of their healers in an ambush by 6 assassins, they had even allowed these ambushers to escape. Wouldn't they become laughingstocks if others were to find out about this matter? Before the elites of Dark Star could set off in pursuit of Fire Dance's group, the female summoner, Yulan, suddenly shouted loudly, "Do not chase after them. Everyone, scatter immediately." The moment Yulan finished speaking, she promptly sprinted away from this part of the forest. South Wolf was confused by Yulan's actions, failing to understand why she would do such a thing. However, he still chose to listen to her advice and started running. At the same time, in the distance, Blackie finished chanting the final verse of his spell's incantation. In the next moment, an enormous, golden magic array appeared in the sky, covering a large part of the forest. Shortly after, a dazzlingly brilliant star appeared from the magic array and plummeted towards the forest. One after another, the Dark Star elementalists with quick reactions responded by immediately activating instantaneous movement. Meanwhile, the other classes also activated their own life-saving skills while doing their best to escape the effective range of the attack. However, there were a few players from Dark Star that failed to respond appropriately. Moreover, Blackie's stars of light possessed a very large effective range. Hence, when the first star impacted the ground, the blast caught over a dozen Dark Star players. The continuous bombardment of the stars of light easily wiped out even shield warriors that possessed more than 3,000 HP. To put it simply, all those within the stars of light's effective range died. What an amazing skill. Now that I'm seeing it in person, this skill is extraordinary as expected. Aside from Black Flame and Yi Feng, the top ranker of White River City cannot be taken lightly either. Although Yulan had managed to avoid the bombardment of the stars of light, she still could not help but marvel at the terrifying destructive power of the skill. Yulan, if not for your reminder, we would have lost more than just a dozen or so members. At this moment, South Wolf had yet to recover from his shock. After all, he had originally been standing at ground zero of the attack. If he had not escaped as quickly as he had, he might have been among the dozen or so players who had died. Uncle South Wolf, please contact Guild Leader Tyrant immediately and have them on the lookout in their vicinity. Make sure they don't split up, as the ambushers from Zero Wing are definitely not limited to just those 6, Yulan said in the team chat after surveying her surroundings. Yulan, you worry too much. Although we have lost some of our people, this team of ours consists entirely of Dark Star's elite. Fire Dance's group has only around 30 or so members remaining. In a direct confrontation, they stand no chance against us at all. The most they can achieve right now is an ambush on us. Now that they have revealed themselves, it is the perfect chance for us to pursue them. So, how can we choose to wait for our deaths in this place? South Wolf felt that Yulan was panicking slightly after seeing the stars of light. Originally, Yulan had wanted to dissuade South Wolf. However, the latter was simply too impatient. He also did not wish to miss this great chance to get rid of Fire Dance and her group. Hence, before Yulan could say anything more, South Wolf had already led the team off, charging in the direction where Fire Dance and the others had disappeared. Just in time. Seeing South Wolf and his team running over, Feng revealed a smile as he waved his hand. At Feng's gesture, Kola and the other plate armor classes immediately charged forward to meet with the Dark Star members. The moment South Wolf's group noticed a dozen or so Zero Wing members charging at them, they, too, did not hesitate to hasten their steps, their eagerness to get rid of Kola and the others showing clearly in their eyes. Kola was the chief MT of Zero Wing, and his current level was at level 21. In addition, Kola was mostly geared with fine gold equipment, secret silver being the poorest quality for the items he had on him. The Arclight guard in his hand was also a dark gold ranked shield. With such good items, Kola's HP exceeded the 3,900 threshold, and his defense was likewise frightening. When a flame explosion sent by one of Dark Star's elementalists landed on him, the spell barely managed to deal slightly over -300 damage. The caster of the spell goggled from shock when he saw such a low damage, his eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. Meanwhile, an arrow shot by a ranger from Dark Star dealt only around -100 damage. The attack could barely be considered a scratch on Kola. To make matters worse, Kola also excelled at dodging. In the face of a sky filled with spells and arrows, Kola actually managed to dodge over half of these attacks. Meanwhile, standing at the rear, Violet Cloud merely had to gesture with her delicate hand, casting a basic recover on Kola. Instantly, the spell fully restored the 400+ HP Kola lost, returning the Guardian Knight to full health. Moreover, recover was a skill that restored the target's HP once every 3 seconds for a duration of 15 seconds. Seeing this scene, everyone from Dark Star was immediately dumbfounded. What kind of healer is she? I am a cleric as well, yet my recover can restore only around 200 HP each time. She's already comparable to the top 5 healers of Dark Star, a cleric for Dark Star commented in shock. Originally, they were already having a hard time trying to kill Kola. Now that there was also an amazing healer supporting him from behind, it was simply impossible for them to kill him. Shortly after both sides started confronting each other, the players from Dark Star suddenly discovered a shocking matter: Kola's HP had actually risen past 5,000. Moreover, the heals he was receiving had also increased from the original 400+ to 500+, making him even more impossible to kill. Unknown to the members of Dark Star, Kola's sudden upgrade was all due to the Arclight Guard's passive skill, Sound of Life. Every time Kola received an attack, he would receive a stack of Power of Life. Each stack of Power of Life increased Kola's maximum HP by 3% and the healing he received by 2% for 1 minute, and Kola could accumulate a maximum of 10 stacks of Power of Life. Hence, Kola suddenly became much more powerful. Kill him. All ranged classes, focus fire on him. South Wolf knew that if Kola did not die, it would be a huge blow to the team's morale. Therefore, killing Kola had priority. Immediately, half a dozen berserkers surrounded Kola, while the ranged damage dealers sent a continuous stream of attacks at him. They no longer treated Kola like a player but a boss monster. In response to their actions, Kola simply smiled in disdain. He then activated Protection Blessing, reducing the damage he received by 50%. Now, the highest damage the players from Dark Star managed to inflict on Kola did not exceed -200 points. A majority of the attacks were even below -100 damage. In the face of Kola's 5,000+ HP, such damages were simply insignificant. However, due to the large number of attacks, Kola's HP quickly fell below the 50% threshold. Right then, Violet Cloud took action again. She casually cast Guardian Shield and recover on Kola. At Violet Cloud's current level, her Guardian Shield would provide her target with a buff that could absorb over -700 damage. She followed up with Healing Light. In the next moment, a healing value of +1,600 appeared above Kola's head, in addition to the 500+ HP regenerated with recover. Kola's HP instantly went back up to full again. Chapter 310, Reversal. Originally, the Guardian Knight Kola was already a huge headache due to his high HP and defense, and Dark Star's players exerted quite a lot of effort in order to reduce his HP by over half. Yet, in the next moment, he was now back to full health. South Wolf nearly popped a vein when he witnessed this scene. Although Kola was an MT, the damage he dealt was not one bit low. A casual slash from his sword could deal around -300 to -400 damage to Dark Star's shield warriors. If Kola used a skill, he could even deal -500 to -600 damage, which was even higher than that of the berserkers of Dark Star. Moreover, Kola could tank 4 berserkers simultaneously, all by himself, and he even managed to send them flying back. Meanwhile, such a boss-ranked MT was now immortal due to a single cleric from Zero Wing. However, this still was not the end of South Wolf's headache. The MTs in his team were relatively high-ranking MTs in White River City. But the two berserkers named Lonely Snow and Water Buffalo still sliced them up in no time. For example, one of the Guardian Knights of Dark Star had come under the combined assault of the two berserkers. At first, the Guardian Knight had received 2 normal attacks from the berserkers. Unfortunately, both attacks had achieved a critical hit, with Lonely Snow dealing over -1,400 damage and Water Buffalo dealing over -1,300 damage. Without leaving any gaps, the two then followed up with Beheaded, both of their skills dealing over -1,000 damage each. As a result, even though the Guardian Knight had 2 healers focusing on him, his 3,000 HP was still reaped away within an instant. Meanwhile, Fire Dance was even more amazing than the two berserkers. After dishing out a flurry of attacks, she followed up with a 7-star Eviscerate that achieved a critical hit, dealing over -2,300 damage. Within moments, one more Guardian Knight of Dark Star died. South Wolf had even begun to suspect that the members of Zero Wing were no longer playing the same game Dark Star's players were. After all, whether it was Zero Wing's MT, healer, or DPS, all of them were so powerful. On the other hand, the players of Dark Star were like paper, dying from just a touch. With merely a brief exchange, South Wolf's team had already lost 9 members. It should be known that all these players were core members of Dark Star. They were not random noobs that could be found anywhere on the streets of White River City. Each and every one of them was a skilled player and they all had a good sense for battle. Although they were not comparable to experts, neither were they far from one. Yet, even so, these elite players still died with barely any resistance. As the battle continued, the players from Dark Star grew more and more frightened. They had yet to kill a single player of Zero Wing, even until now. This was definitely a huge psychological blow to the elites of Dark Star. Don't panic. We outnumber them thrice over. Assassins and Rangers, take out their healers first. As long as the healers are dead, the others will soon follow, even if their combat power is superior. South Wolf was no idiot, and he immediately sought to utilize Dark Star's advantage. Zerg Tactics. It was the easiest tactic for obtaining victory in any virtual reality game. As South Wolf had the numerical advantage, he could afford to divide his troops into 2 groups, one to pin down the enemy forces, and another to circle around and strike at the enemy's weak point. Very quickly, over 20 assassins and rangers from Dark Star flanked Zero Wing's forces and immediately charged towards Violet Cloud's group of 5 healers. Contrary to expectations, however, even when Violet Cloud's group noticed Dark Star's players charging towards them, none of them chose to run away. Instead, they continued healing their allies at the front, paying no attention to their attackers at all. In regard to the healers' lack of reaction, Dark Star's players did not give it too much thought. They simply continued charging forward, having concluded that Zero Wing's healers had already given up on escaping. When there was only a short distance of 8 yards between the assassins and Violet Cloud's group, an intermediate frost grenade suddenly landed, exploding in the midst of the assassins. Dark Star's rangers, who stood 30 yards away, also received an intermediate frost grenade of their own. In the blink of an eye, both groups were frozen solid. A damage of -400 also appeared above each of their heads. Although the 8 assassins immediately used Vanish to escape the freezing effect, they were still unable to advance as an ice wall appeared, blocking the path between them and Violet Cloud's group. Meanwhile, the person responsible for casting this ice wall was one of the 5 demon generals that Feng had recruited, Ice Queen Su Qianlu. Ice Wall was the perfect skill for this scenario. Without magic immunity, if the assassins were to charge into the ice wall, their movement speeds would slow to a crawl. At that time, their fates would be as good as sealed. Although Ice Wall had a short duration of only 2 to 3 seconds, it still provided the healers with a brief, but important, moment of respite. As for the Rangers of Dark Star, none of them had any skills that could be used to dispel the effects of control skills, and neither did any of them possess any life-saving skills. Hence, they could do nothing but stand there and watch. At this moment, Feng used silent steps and suddenly appeared behind these frozen rangers. To Feng, a group of immobile players was entirely negligible. Feng was currently at level 23. He was also equipped with the newly acquired 7 Luminaries ring, and had recently received the golden Stigmata. His overall attributes surpassed these elite players manyfold. Moreover, Feng currently had the Aura of Fire activated, the aura effect increasing his damage by 30% while also reducing his target's defense by 30%. Immediately, Feng sent a level 8 thundering flash at the group of rangers. Green arcs of lightning crackled as they instantly pierced the bodies of these rangers. Damages of -1,102, -1,528, and -2,140 appeared above each of the 12 rangers' heads. Although none of Feng's attacks had achieved a critical hit, these rangers had only around 2,000 HP. Meanwhile, Feng's thundering flash had dealt more than -4,700 damage in total, far surpassing the ranger's maximum HP. The members of Dark Star saw Feng killing all those rangers with a single strike. Each and every one of the witnesses was completely dumbfounded, their jaw hanging wide open. South Wolf nearly had his eyes pop out of their own sockets. The 12 rangers simultaneously collapsed to the ground, their actions in complete unison. In the next moment, piles of weapons and equipment were scattered around their bodies. In this chaotic battlefield, this scene was both striking and shocking. The 12 rangers were all either level 18 or level 19 players. Most of the equipment they used was also level 15 mysterious iron equipment, and every one of them had more than 2,000 HP. Yet, they were killed off so easily. Moreover, it wasn't just one person that got killed but an entire group. For a moment, South Wolf believed that he was dreaming. He even considered giving one of his subordinates a slap and then asking said subordinate if it hurt, to confirm whether or not this was a dream. As for the assassins of Dark Star who had been waiting for the ice wall to disappear, after witnessing this unforgettable scene, they had completely forgotten their original task of dealing with Violet Cloud's group of healers. They idly stood there as they watched their ranger companions die, their minds empty of all thought. They then swallowed a big gulp of saliva as they suddenly recalled an important matter. With the number of murders they had committed so far, if they died as well, not only would they lose 2 to 3 levels, they would even lose all the equipment on their bodies. Watching from a distance, Blackie was similarly astonished by the instant deaths of the 12 elite players. However, he had long since grown inured to Feng's horror-inducing feats, so he quickly regained his composure and threw a basic frost grenade at the still-dazed assassins of Dark Star, freezing them once more. This time, none of the assassins could use Vanish to remove the freezing effect on them. Hence, they could only obediently stay frozen. Following which, Blackie chanted an incantation and used Hell Flame. One could easily imagine the might of a Hell Flame that was powered by the epic-ranked Staff Mavis's Guard. Damages of over -1,000 points immediately appeared above these assassins' heads, and within 3 seconds, all of these assassins turned into ashes, leaving behind a pile of shining weapons and equipment. However, this was still not the end. After Feng had dealt with Dark Star's rangers, he then cast Firestorm, the activatable skill of the Aura of Fire, at the heart of the battlefield. Firestorm inflicts 500% damage within a range of 10 by 10 yards for 5 seconds. Cooldown, 5 minutes. In terms of damage, Firestorm did not lose out to Stars of Light by much. However, it had a much smaller effective range. Currently, Kola was surrounded by plenty of Dark Star's elite players. Before anyone could react, a storm of flames suddenly emerged above them, and the HP of all of Dark Star's players within 10 yards of Kola fell at a crazy rate. Although Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights were classes with high HP and defense, Feng's equipment was simply too amazing, which resulted in his current attack power being well over 800 points. With such a high base value, even though the Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights of Dark Star possessed plenty of damage reduction items, they still received more than -2,000 DPS. As for the other classes, they received more than -3,000 DPS. Even when the Shield Warriors and Guardian Knights activated their life-saving skills, which allowed them to have the damage they received, they still could not avoid death. After Firestorm ended, all of Dark Star's players caught within its effective range were reduced to cinders. Only Cola and the other frontline members of Zero Wing remained alive. Dark Star's 40 or so frontline players had died. All of a sudden, Zero Wing's side outnumbered Dark Star's. Black Flame, why are you here? South Wolf instantly recognized the person responsible for killing the majority of Dark Star's players. At this moment, South Wolf's eyes were filled with incomparable shock as his trembling finger pointed at Feng's crimson-red name. South Wolf failed to understand why Black Flame would appear at this place. He also could not understand why Black Flame was so powerful. Wasn't Black Flame just a forger? Originally, there had been a huge numerical difference between the two sides. However, in the blink of an eye, a strategic change occurred, all because of Black Flame's fleeting blow. Dark Star was no match for Zero Wing even when Dark Star had the advantage of numbers. Now that the situation was reversed, the end result was obvious. Chapter 311, Absolute Control. Watching up to this point, South Wolf knew that defeat was inevitable, though he was loath to admit it, and his heart was filled with indignation. Currently, his team had fewer than 30 players, and practically all of them were mages and healers. He alone was the only melee class alive. With such a team composition, Dark Star stood absolutely no chance against Zero Wing's core team, which currently consisted of over 30 players. The single sword strike Black Flame had displayed far exceeded South Wolf's imagination. Not only was Black Flame inconceivably fast, his grasp of his skills had also reached perfection, as shown by his single attack's impeccable coverage of all 12 rangers. Such a feat required one to possess excellent control over the skill itself and the angle of attack as well. South Wolf was no fool, and neither was he a greenhorn that had been playing virtual reality games for only 1 or 2 years. As a representative of Underworld, he had met with and recruited lots of gaming experts before. He had also participated in a considerable number of team battles, so his experience in the virtual gaming world was quite plentiful. Naturally, he understood the strategy Black Flame had used since the start of the battle. Black Flame made the Guardian Knights, Shield Warriors, and other plate armor classes charge forward to lure the members of Dark Star into gathering around them. The female cleric, Violet Cloud, was pivotal to this strategy. Although on the surface her healing ability was only double that of the healers of Dark Star, the effectiveness she displayed during the team battle far surpassed that of 3 or 4 healers combined. Violet Cloud had an excellent grasp of the battle situation. Not only could she keep Cola alive and well, she could also simultaneously stabilize several other players' HP. Throughout the battle, she performed smoothly and calmly. She was definitely not in existence to be trifled with. Originally, Zero Wing already had powerful experts like Fire Dance, the team leader of Zero Wing's core team, and Blackie, the #1 player on White River City's ranking list. Now, South Wolf suddenly discovered that Zero Wing possessed not only Fire Dance and Blackie, Cola and Violet Cloud were definitely first-rate experts as well. Everyone else in Zero Wing's core team were also all experts. Meanwhile, Black Flame, who had suddenly appeared, was even more terrifying. The strength he displayed far surpassed that of all those previously mentioned. The scene South Wolf witnessed was like a replay of the god-ranked expert Feng slaying the hundreds of players of Martial Union. South Wolf could not figure out why there were so many experts gathering at a newly established guild like Zero Wing. Even a guild that was newly established by a major corporation could not achieve what Zero Wing had managed in such a short amount of time. South Wolf truly wondered how Black Flame had accomplished such a feat. Although South Wolf was shocked by Black Flame's personal strength and by Blackie, who possessed a strategic-level skill that could affect the entire battlefield. Black Flame, you are indeed amazing. However, the entire Silverleaf Forest is already under Dark Star's control. Although your team of 30 or so players can easily defeat an elite team with more than 100 players, do you think you can do the same against 3,000 players? You have simply delayed the time of your demise. South Wolf laughed coldly as he looked at Feng, his current appearance making it seem as if he no longer cared about the many elite players that had died. Let's go. It will be their time of death when guild leader Tyrant arrives. Since his team was no match for Zero Wing, South Wolf naturally would not remain in this place and increase his losses. The fact that he had discovered Black Flame, Zero Wing's guild leader, here easily made up for the elite players he lost. After all, Black Flame's death would become a huge blow to Zero Wing's reputation and prestige in White River City. Coming and going as you wish, do you think the Silverleaf Forest is your house? Feng smiled calmly, his eyes revealing a cold killing intent. Since you've already pursued us to this place, I insist that you stay. Do you think you can keep me here? South Wolf laughed in disdain. He was an assassin, the class that boasted the greatest survivability in the wild. If he hid himself in the dense forest, nobody would be able to find him. You can try. If any single one of you manages to escape today, then I will let you go. Feng waved, and all 30-plus members of Zero Wing immediately charged forward, starting their hunt of South Wolf and the surviving players of Dark Star. The reason why South Wolf had never participated in the battle before was to leave a path of retreat for himself. This was a habit of his. After all, once he entered combat status, he could no longer use stealth. At that time, he would only be left with Vanish to enter stealth mode. However, Vanish was a life-saving skill, so it should only be used at the most crucial of moments. Looking at the enemy players charging at him, South Wolf revealed a disdainful expression. Just as he was about to use stealth and hide himself in the dense forest. What's going on? South Wolf suddenly discovered that he could not use the skill. Like a prisoner deprived of his freedom, South Wolf frantically called out his skill bar to look for the cause of this situation. Boss South Wolf, we can't use our skills. What are we supposed to do now? The elementalists of Dark Star asked, frightened. Originally, they had intended to cast Ice Wall to delay Zero Wing's charge. Now, however, none of them could use any of their skills, and an elementalist that could not use skills was like a lamb to the slaughter. Aside from sacrificing their lives to earn a few extra seconds for their allies, they were helpless. Run first, talk later. South Wolf was confused about this situation as well, and he suspected that something must have gone wrong with the system. Since none of them could use skills, they could only rely on their 2 feet to escape. As an assassin, South Wolf had great confidence in his own speed. However, just as he was turning to escape, he suddenly discovered that his movement speed had been greatly reduced. Everyone else from Dark Star faced a similar situation as well. Just what is going on? South Wolf started panicking as the players of Zero Wing raced closer and closer to them. However, he was simply helpless in the situation. In the next moment, South Wolf noticed a black figure dashing past Cola and the others. Like a mad gale, the figure instantly caught up with the escaping players of Dark Star. This person was none other than Feng himself. At present, Feng's agility exceeded 240 points, and there were also the bonuses provided by the equipment he wore. In terms of movement speed, Feng was definitely ranked at the apex of Star Moon Kingdom. Feng used silent steps and appeared behind South Wolf like a ghost. He then said softly, I've already said that you can't escape. Previously, while Feng was conversing with South Wolf, he had secretly switched the aura of fire on the 7 luminaries ring to the aura of time. Meanwhile, the aura of time reduced the movement speed and attack speed of enemies within a 100-yard radius by 20%, and increased the cooldown of their skills by 20%. When its activatable skill, Absolute Time, was used, it would even prevent enemies within a range of 50 by 50 yards from using any skills or tools for 20 seconds. After Feng used Absolute Time to envelope this entire area, everybody from Dark Star could not use any skills or tools for 20 seconds. Dark Star's current surviving members mostly consisted of mages and healers, so this restriction had truly rendered them completely helpless. One could say that the moment South Wolf's team stepped into this region of the Silverleaf Forest, their lives passed into Feng's hands. Just what did he do? South Wolf's heart was filled with shock when he noticed Feng appearing behind him. Before South Wolf could even ponder on the subject, Feng's abyssal blade had already left its scabbard. Countless silver lights pierced the numerous vital points on South Wolf's body. South Wolf had only leather armor, so every one of Feng's attacks managed to cause over -500 damage, while critical hits dealt over -1000 damage. On the other hand, the mysterious iron-ranked chest piece South Wolf wore was like a piece of tofu. Not only was it easily pierced by Feng's abyssal blade, each attack it received greatly diminished the armor's durability. Just 3 strikes had nearly reduced it to scrap already. Feng's attacks were lightning fast, and he had brandished his sword 8 times in a single series. By the time South Wolf had recovered from shock, his 2000+ HP was completely gone. Suddenly, South Wolf's field of vision turned gray, while his body fell to the ground involuntarily. Even as he died, shock and confusion still filled his face. As South Wolf had not participated in any of the battles so far, his name remained white all this time. After he died, only one piece of equipment dropped by his body. He also lost only a single level. However, were Feng's attacks as simple as they looked? The reason why Feng had chosen not to use any skills, and had instead carried out only normal attacks, was to destroy the equipment on South Wolf's body. When South Wolf died, nearly half of the equipment on his body had already turned to scrap. Now that he had dropped yet another piece of equipment, he had definitely suffered heavy losses. Chapter 312, Diving into Danger Alone. After South Wolf died, the members of Dark Star were like headless flies. Frightened and scared, they fled in all directions. Zero Wing's berserker Lonely Snow swiftly closed the gap between him and an elementalist of Dark Star to 20 yards before using charge to instantly catch up to and incapacitate the elementalist. After that, Lonely Snow used Thunderclap, Violent Strike, Suppression, and Whirlwind Slash in rapid succession, making quick work of the elementalist. Following closely, everyone else from Zero Wing took action as well. Against a group of mages and healers that could use neither skills nor tools, in addition to the fact that these classes were innately slow runners, the members of Zero Wing required no time at all to finish off the surviving Dark Star members. As these players died, they left behind piles of weapons and equipment. Ha ha ha. What a fun battle. Those bastards from Dark Star think that they are so amazing, but now, all of them are dead. Kola laughed loudly as he looked at the weapons and equipment scattered all over the ground. The frustration he had accumulated from continuously running away was completely swept away now. Fire Dance nodded her head in agreement, a faint smile appearing on her face. She then said with a light chuckle, "This battle was indeed a good stress reliever. None of us died this time, while Dark Star lost over 100 players. After this battle, Dark Star will have to reorganize their plans to pursue us. If they could deal with a team of over 100 elite players in such a short time, it also signified that Dark Star would be simply sending its members to their deaths if a team had fewer than 200 or 300 players. In order to reduce its losses, Dark Star would definitely consolidate its teams and at least double or triple the member count of each team." At this moment, Blackie and the others were laughing without restraint as well. After all, they were able to kill over 100 elite members of Dark Star. This would, without a doubt, be a huge blow to Dark Star. "Collect the loot. Dark Star will be arriving here soon," Feng commanded. The loot they obtained from killing the 100+ elite members of Dark Star was extremely bountiful. They had collected close to 1,000 weapons and equipment, and a majority of them were even mysterious iron rank. The harvest they got from this single battle far exceeded even the harvest Aqua Rose obtained from the battle that involved tens of thousands of players. Even Feng was somewhat moved by this harvest. Kill and plunder. Just from this battle, they had obtained the resources required to arm an elite team of 100 players. This was precisely the reason why, in the past, many large guilds preferred to kill and plunder the core teams of smaller guilds. Not only could they increase their guild's fame and prestige by doing so, they could also make a huge profit. They could upgrade their weapons and equipment much faster this way, compared to raiding dungeons and killing bosses. However, the harvest from this battle was still insufficient to offset the losses Zero Wing had suffered. After all, the weapons and equipment of Dark Star's elites were inferior to those of Zero Wing's elite members, not to mention those of Zero Wing's core members. Every core member of Zero Wing possessed quite a few pieces of secret silver ranked weapons and equipment, and some even possessed fine gold and dark gold ranked weapons and equipment. Guild leader, why aren't you leaving? Fire Dance looked curiously at Feng, who had jumped onto a large tree. You guys go first. I'll hold down the fort. Feng was not a lord who would sit comfortably in his throne while his subordinates fought. Since he was already here, naturally, he needed to take something away from Dark Star. But, guild leader, this place is too dangerous. You're also not an assassin, Fire Dance said worriedly. You guys have done enough. Let your guild leader handle the rest. Feng waved them off, hurrying Fire Dance and the others to the designated location. Upon hearing Feng's words, everyone from Zero Wing was immediately moved. In God's domain, guild leaders who were willing to brave danger for his fellow guild members were definitely as rare as a phoenix's feather. Not to mention, Feng was currently a famous existence in God's domain. If he were to die, his reputation would be greatly affected. Then, I'll stay behind as well. Blackie said. How could I be left out from such an important matter? Cola stepped forward. Suddenly, everyone else started voicing intentions to remain. All of you, stop making a fuss and leave with me. You all will only be a hindrance to guild leader if you stay behind. Fire Dance could feel the cold killing intent radiating from Feng at this moment. She knew that he could no longer hold himself back. She then raised her head and looked at Feng, saying, Guild leader, you have to be careful. Rest assured, I know my own limits. Feng laughed. He then retrieved a basic stealth scroll from his bag. This scroll allowed players to enter stealth mode. The stealth scroll's effect had a duration of 1 hour, and as long as players did not carry out any attacks during this period of time, the scroll would remain in effect. Shortly after Fire Dance and the others departed, Yulan came hurrying over to this place with a huge team of more than 300 players. Sure enough, all of them died. Yulan sighed softly when she saw the ground littered with corpses. However, she was not surprised by this outcome. Obviously, the ambush before was meant to lure them into a trap. However, South Wolf had been too eager for success, which resulted in a team wipe, as she had expected. Revive them, Yulan said to the healers in her team. Immediately, the 30-plus healers in the team started using resurrection skills. If players died outside of a dungeon, there were 2 methods for them to revive. The first method was to revive back at the cemetery. However, players were required to wait for half an hour before they could do so. The other method was to have one of the healer classes use a resurrection skill. Players could be revived immediately using this method. However, upon resurrection, players would have to wait another 10 minutes before resurrection skills could be used on them again. A short while later, all 100-plus elite players had been revived. Meanwhile, after being resurrected, South Wolf felt fortunate over the fact that he was not a red name. He had only lost 1 piece of equipment and fallen by 1 level after he died. Yet, when he discovered that most of the equipment he wore had been turned to scrap, he nearly went insane. South Wolf had been using level 15 Mysterious Iron set equipment, which could be obtained only from a level 15 team dungeon. In order to obtain the complete set, South Wolf had expended a huge amount of time and effort. Now, however, all of them were destroyed. Unlike field bosses, team dungeons reset only once every 3 days, and there were only a limited number of level 15 team dungeons within the region of White River City. Gathering the complete set had taken South Wolf 2 cycles. If he wished to obtain the set once again, he would have to wait through another 2 cycles. At this moment, Lone Tyrant arrived at the scene. He then asked, South Wolf, what happened here? How did all of you die? South Wolf was someone from Underworld, so he did not particularly care how many players from Dark Star had died. He cared more about himself instead. However, the same could not be said for Lone Tyrant. The strength of Dark Star determined his future as its guild leader. Now, more than 100 elites from his guild had died for no reason. The worst part was that these elites had lost most, if not all, of their weapons and equipment. The levels they lost could be recovered, but it would not be as easy to recover the equipment. We were lured into an ambush unprepared, and all of us got killed. However, I discovered something even more important. I don't know how he managed it, but Black Flame is now with the core team of Zero Wing. He has also become a red name at this point, so this is the perfect chance for us to destroy Zero Wing. Although Black Flame is very powerful, we should have no problems dealing with all of them if we send in a team of 300 to 400 players. We can still catch up if we chase after them right away. South Wolf's words immediately allowed Lone Tyrant and Yulan to come to a realization. Truly an interesting person, Yulan muttered softly, her interest towards the player named Black Flame growing. As for Lone Tyrant, his expression turned grim upon receiving this piece of information. Obviously, with Black Flame commanding Zero Wing's core team, their combat power had increased to frightening heights. Also, from South Wolf's description of the one-sided battle that took place before, Lone Tyrant also learned that Black Flame was a great expert. Not only did Black Flame possess extraordinary combat power, he also possessed a strategic level skill. A team of 100 elite players would definitely be insufficient to deal with him. Hence, they needed to rearrange their team compositions. Each team now had to have 200 players at the very least. Otherwise, they would only suffice as cannon fodder. Black Flame, you've actually dared show yourself here. Since you've come seeking your own death, don't even think about leaving this place alive today. Lone Tyrant revealed a sinister expression. He inwardly mocked Feng for his foolish actions. In order to save Zero Wing's core team, Feng had actually disregarded the dangers and barged into Lone Tyrant's domain. Feng must not know how to write the word death. Chapter 313, Killing the Commander. Gather everyone immediately and surround this area. I don't believe that they can grow wings and fly away, Lone Tyrant sternly issued his command. The news of World Dominator's defeat had already spread, and very few in White River City did not know about the battle that took place. This result had greatly boosted Zero Wing's prestige. If Dark Star could get rid of not only Zero Wing's core team, but Zero Wing's guild leader, Black Flame, also, then they could destroy the fame that Zero Wing had accumulated up until this point. At that time, Dark Star would also garner fame themselves, killing two birds with one stone. Naturally, Lone Tyrant would not let go of such a valuable opportunity. Immediately, everyone from Dark Star started moving. Previously, they had tried to cover too large an area in their search. Now that Feng and the core team of Zero Wing had exposed themselves, Lone Tyrant quickly concentrated their hunt. Soon, more and more Dark Star members gathered at the stated location in the dense forest. Feng, who remained hidden in a tree, did not panic at this situation. Instead, he continued to wait for all the members of Dark Star to arrive. Come, come. The more, the merrier, Feng inwardly chuckled as he saw that the number of players gathered had already exceeded 1,000. Before the battle even started, Feng had already considered the consequences. If he had not come fully prepared, he would not have allowed Fire Dance and the others to obliterate South Wolf's team of elites. Guild leader, our members have surrounded this part of the forest. As long as any Zero Wings members show themselves, it will be their death, a ranger reported as he walked up to Lone Tyrant. Good. Start shrinking the encirclement. Lone Tyrant laughed satisfyingly. He then looked towards Ming Sha, the team leader of the Underworld Guards, and respectfully said, in a moment, We will have to rely on Brother Ming Sha and your men to take care of the experts from Zero Wing. Rest assured, young Master Feng sent us to deal with Fire Dance and her team of experts. Although there is now an additional black flame added to the equation, the underworld guards can resolve this solution all the same. We won't let any of them escape, Ming Sha replied and nodded his head. In order to extinguish Zero Wing's core team, Feng Xianyang had specifically sent a team of underworld guards to assist Dark Star. Feng Xianyang had gone all out on this hunt. Every underworld guard was an expert that Underworld had spent many years searching for to recruit. Underworld had also spent massive amounts of resources on nurturing these experts further. Compared to Absolute Heaven, the top-tier assassin that Shi Feng faced before, these underworld guards were stronger, not weaker. Meanwhile, Feng Xianyang had sent a team of 20 of such guards. One could just imagine the frightening might this team possessed. Even a 100-man elite team from Dark Star was no match for this team. Also, the leader, Ming Sha, was an expert among experts. In the virtual gaming world, he ranked near the top. Regarding pure combat techniques, he was on the same level as the snow goddess, Gentle Snow. However, as Gentle Snow was in possession of a huge amount of resources, in terms of equipment, Ming Sha was definitely no match for her. Originally, Feng Xianyang had arranged for Ming Sha to go to White River City to deal with Yi Feng. However, Yi Feng was simply too elusive, as if he had completely vanished from White River City. Hence, Feng Xianyang sent Ming Sha to deal with the top experts of Zero Wing, such as Fire Dance and Blackie. In regards to Ming Sha's strength, Lone Tyrant had personally experienced its power. Even though he was clearly above Ming Sha in terms of levels, and his equipment was of higher quality, he still suffered defeat at Ming Sha's hands in less than 20 exchanges. On the other hand, he had only managed to reduce Ming Sha's HP by 1/10. Meanwhile, after taking some time to focus on upgrades, Ming Sha's equipment could now compare to Lone Tyrant's. Now, Ming Sha was mostly geared with several pieces of level 15 secret silver set equipment and fine gold equipment. He also wielded a level 15 fine gold greatsword, the Bone Shatterer. His equipment certainly ranked at the very top of White River City. Lone Tyrant had estimated that, if he fought Ming Sha now, he would last 10 exchanges at most before his defeat. Now that he had so many players surrounding this area and a powerful team of experts like the Underworld Guards supporting him, even a top-tier assassin like Fire Dance could not escape. Just as Lone Tyrant felt confident and was about to declare that he would annihilate everyone from Zero Wing, a figure suddenly appeared in the top of a nearby tree. Someone's there. Ming Sha, who possessed acute senses, immediately discovered the figure. As Ming Sha turned his sights to the intruder, everyone similarly followed his line of sight. Indeed, in the top of the tree, they discovered a person quietly watching them. Black Flame. South Wolf immediately recognized the figure, his eyes burning with rage as he revealed this person's identity. At South Wolf's reminder, everyone finally realized Shi Feng's identity. After all, Black Flame had always been a mysterious existence, and most players had never actually seen Black Flame before. Now that this intruder had revealed himself, everyone from Dark Star discovered that Black Flame was just an ordinary-looking, middle-aged man. He did not even possess the type of aura that a guild leader should have. No matter how they looked at him, he was only an ordinary man. So, it is guild leader Black Flame. I didn't expect you to show yourself here. Since you have refused to walk the path towards heaven and have instead barged your way down to hell, today will be the day that you die. Lone Tyrant laughed coldly. He then commanded, everyone, kill him. Immediately, over 1,000 players from Dark Star surrounded and charged at Shi Feng. Their encirclement was tightly packed, and not even a fly could get past them. Faced with over 1,000 players charging at him, Shi Feng did not panic in the slightest. Instead, his eyes emanated a chilling glow as he glared down at Lone Tyrant, smiling faintly. It was as if these 1,000+ players meant nothing to him. Meanwhile, as the recipient of this gaze, Lone Tyrant's heart inadvertently quivered. However, Lone Tyrant quickly dispelled this feeling because he did not believe Feng could do anything to him while so many players surrounded him. In the next moment, however, Feng vanished from the treetop and everyone's sight. This is not good. He's trying to escape. Quickly, use flare. Lone Tyrant hurriedly shouted. The Rangers quickly used flare upon receiving Lone Tyrant's command, brightly illuminating the surrounding area. Within the effective range of flare, all stealth-type skills would lose their effects. Yet, even after tens of flares had been launched, Feng's figure still could not be found. What the players of Dark Star did not know was that, after Feng had activated the Ring of Nothingness, his first task was not to escape, but to leap forward and charge towards the tree closest to Lone Tyrant. Hence, the flares used to seal his path of escape served no purpose whatsoever. Damn it. He plans to kill his way over. Use flare and shine Guild Leader Tyrant's surroundings. When Yulan recalled the faint smile on Black Flame's face as he pinned Lone Tyrant with a glare, she instinctively felt that Feng aimed to kill the commander. Only by doing could Feng possibly redeem Zero Wing's fame and prestige. At that time, even if Dark Star managed to annihilate Zero Wing's core team, it would not damage Zero Wing's reputation if Lone Tyrant, Dark Star's guild leader, died at Black Flame's hands. After all, even though Zero Wing only had tens of players on their side, they would still have managed to kill Dark Star's guild leader while under the protection of over 1,000 players. At that time, Dark Star would be the one suffering humiliation. Why are you all still daydreaming? Move! Yulan angrily shouted when she noticed that none of Dark Star's rangers had reacted. However, Yulan suddenly felt that something was amiss. Instead of looking towards the outskirts of the encirclement, all of these rangers stared at the space above her. Immediately, Yulan raised her head, discovering a figure falling towards her, and this figure was none other than Feng himself. Panic surfaced on Lone Tyrant's face. He never imagined that Feng would be so suicidal as to come for his life. Black Flame, if you wish to die, then I'll grant your wish. The corners of Lone Tyrant's mouth raised slightly. He then picked up his shield and sword, fully prepared to guard against Feng's attack. What amazing courage! Ming Sha, who stood by Lone Tyrant's side, brimmed with fighting spirit right now, his eyes glowing as he watched Feng fall. He then retrieved the bone shatterer from his back and stood in front of Lone Tyrant, acting like a highly defensive wall. Ming Sha secretly admired Feng's performance, and he deeply wished he that could properly exchange blows with this man. However, responsibilities came first, so he had no choice but to get rid of Feng. Even with Ming Sha protecting Lone Tyrant, Yulan still felt that something was off. After all, why would an intelligent and resourceful man like Black Flame carry out such a reckless action? As insurance, Yulan hurriedly commanded, Guardian Knights, use Protection Blessing on Guild Leader Tyrant. All healers focus on healing Guild Leader Tyrant as well. Do not let Black Flame succeed. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.